close, Dave, but no cigar.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, good Saturday morning, afternoon, whatever time it is where you are. You're listening to, and some of you are watching Fresh Black Coffee here in our headquarters, in our bunker in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And welcome everyone again, and we hope we have a good hour here. We're graced this morning for our first hour with Mr. Steve Byas. And Steve is with the Oklahoma Constitution magazine and the New American, right? New American, and we're going to get into some what do you call it, wonkism here today.
The professor is here.
Yes, get into it. Yeah, I mean this is Dave. I mean this just makes his week, his year to get into, because you guys will be diving in all the minutia, and I'm the referee. I'm going to say, okay, time out or throw a flag. Let's move on to something else. So,
Eddie, see, he still got me muted. So I'll talk so loud, his microphone picks me up. Now, Eddie, the thing about Steve here, and he and I have been friends really longer than I've been your friend, which is like 3 weeks. No, you two agree on so much. You guys really do. You guys are both against Convention of States. For just, it makes no sense, right? Not that it's not constitutional, and you're both against the marijuana state question, for probably the same reasons, except Steve and his wife Donna and his wife, she's a debater. You think you are a fierce debater on Facebook? Donna will own you.
Well, I'll have to get her on my page to see. I see it as a child. I learned from my.
But the Byas family, think we'd be better off without alcohol too. Now most people say, "Oh no, don't."
I think we probably would.
Exactly. Even though you have one or two once a week or with a meal.
Not true, but okay.
Okay.
See, Dave's always casting these accusations at me he knows nothing of.
Yeah, but here's my point.
That's it once a month.
No, but that's it. What I'm saying is that's a consistent principle position. Mm-hmm. The people who say, hey, there's nothing wrong with my six-pack or my Jack Daniels, but those reefer kids, somebody's got to put them in prison. That I don't think is a principled, consistent belief.
Right. Well, there's one big difference. Mm-hmm. One can drink a bottle of Coors Light in particular, which is about a half a step up from water. And there's a difference in drinking that and there is in smoking a joint. Okay. Smoking a joint will alter your
So you're okay with Coors Light, but not Jack Daniels?
Yeah, not Jack Daniels, yeah. If you drink a cup of Jack Daniels, you'll be in Never Land.
All right.
Well, I'm not a prohibitionist. I don't drink alcohol myself.
Yeah.
But I don't. But as far as a practical matter, I think people would be better off if they didn't drink at all.
Okay.
Because they can become alcoholics.
Right, but you don't want the government to be the all-enforcer.
Yeah, that's correct.
Nanny state.
Well, but see,
that's the Ron Paul answer.
See, but then we get into another issue of who does throw the flag or who does put the brakes on it, who does stop it. It's a long issue because, as you know, he knows I come from Germany. I was born in Germany, lived over 20 years in Germany, and fluent not only in language but in the culture and the whole thing. And there, I had my first swig of beer when I was 5 years old. Yes. And but it's never been a thing. But well, maybe it's my physiology. I can't drink more than one can, or in fact, it takes me a while to do that. Yeah. But as I think you know, Dave, my son-in-law, former son-in-law, he's a full-blown alcoholic. And it's a tragedy. I've seen what brother-in-law, same thing, ruined their marriage, ruined the relationship with the kids, ruined everything. because I know the devastation. Same with these gambling addictions. It's the same thing. I can't relate. As I always say, I have no attraction to men. I have no attraction to alcohol. I have no attraction to. There was something that came up this morning in our group that I was just with. That it just doesn't tempt me. But I know that there is gambling. The gambling.
Yeah.
You know, if I go to Las Vegas, you know how to get to your room, you got to walk through the slot machine.
He doesn't tell us who that group is. It's called Skull and Bones.
But what I'll usually do, I'll get $4 or $5 bills, and I may go over to the blackjack table, lose it in the first 30 seconds, and keep moving. So I do not have an addiction to these different things. Now, I have other things that I have a hard time with, maybe getting rid of or whatever, or not doing. But I cannot relate to that. And see, that's the problem. You have to find a way to where you can keep society safe, protect society, especially young people, kids, without yet becoming overbearing.
Yeah.
It's like I talked about from the beginning.
Yeah.
When God told Adam, don't eat of the fruit, Eve, by the time he got to the serpent, Eve told him, God said, don't touch it. Well, God never said don't touch it, but I have a feeling Adam told Eve, don't touch it, because if you don't touch it, you don't eat it. And then the problem relating it to today is you tell kids, you know, don't drink any alcohol. But actually, the Bible just says don't get drunk on alcohol, because we know they drink wine. So anyway, we don't need to get into all that. But that's kind of our difference here. And the problem is with weed, with marijuana, you can't have it to refresh your thirst or to do whatever. You can't do that. You can't smoke a joint and remain sober. You just can't do it. So that's why I have a different issue with drugs than I do with some alcohol. I don't advise anybody to go hard liquor.
I only wanted it as a medical treatment for certain conditions.
Yeah, and that's our. We're not going to do that because we have a guest here. but that's we differ on medical, you know, pharmacological benefit. Okay. But anyway, moving on. Steve, we've got to give our guest time. I'm sorry. I apologize. I've gone longer than I should have. But Steve, thank you and welcome you and your wife for being here with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Sure. How about you opening up a little bit on what you're involved in and what you're currently doing and some of the issues that you're really writing in your periodicals and so forth.
Okay. Well, I would say that my political awareness was in 1964. And I can remember my dad saying, well, we're going to watch Ronald Reagan on TV tonight. And I had no idea who Ronald Reagan was, but he said he's going to speak for Barry Goldwater. Now, I knew who Barry Goldwater is, running for president. And so I watched it. And after it was over, I thought, why would anybody not be for Barry Goldwater, you know, after hearing Ronald Reagan? And so that really, from that point on, I would say that I've been politically conservative. And
how old were you at the time? Do you remember?
9 years old.
9 years old. Wow. Yeah.
So that was the thing. But and as far as the Oklahoma Constitution, I met some people in college, and one of them named Clyde Rollins was his name, and he and Ron McWhorter, who's now my partner with the Oklahoma Constitution, and some other guys that started the Oklahoma Constitution newspaper. So that kind of how I got dragged into that.
You had just run for office for the first time too, right?
No, Ron had, but I didn't run for office until the 90s.
Okay.
But
that the launch came then after those campaigns, I guess. You realize the importance of good communication from
yeah. Well, that was the thing, is that after the 1978 elections, you know, George Nye was elected governor, and it just seemed like we weren't making any progress in Oklahoma. And so Ron and Clyde and some other guys, they decided what we needed to do is we needed some sort of way of communicating with people in Oklahoma, uh, conservative principles, because what was the situation then? Now, we had like 20 Republicans in the House and 8 in the Senate. and then, of course, you had a lot of a relatively fair number of more moderate conservative Democrats.
Yeah.
But the problem was that people would run for office and they'd get in and they would be there for 3 or 4 years and they'd be telling people, I'm a conservative.
Mm-hmm.
But there was nothing to gauge whether they were conservative or not. So the key thing of the Oklahoma Constitution newspaper was to create a conservative rating index. And so that's what we did. And so we've been doing that for 48 years or whatever.
I wanted to ask you, at that time, there were newsstands for free distribution of different periodicals at the Capitol, weren't there?
Yes.
I mean, and you wanted an answer to be an answer to one of them. Can you tell us?
Well, the Oklahoma Observer, which Frosty Troy, people don't remember him
the
now.
Notorious liberal, socialist.
He had the Oklahoma Observer and everything, and so in the very early years, we kind of did little zingers at Frosty Troy to get him to mention us.
Yeah.
And
like the Babylon Bee kind of stuff.
I remember when I was in college, I told somebody one of my ambitions in life is to be blasted in the Oklahoma Observer. Well, I've accomplished that. That did finally happen. But and he had it like a tabloid, and so we went with the tabloid type of thing. Mm-hmm. And
which is like National Enquirer type layout, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the thing is now people could not just say, well, I'm conservative when we have this rating system. Mm-hmm. And there have been a lot of success stories of it either gets people beat or they change votes or something like that. I had one guy, a state senator one time called me. His secretary called me and said, Senator said that you made a mistake on the index. Well, we don't want to make any mistakes. Mm-hmm. He voted the correct way, and y'all had him down as liberal. Well, at that time, we had all these journals. Mm-hmm. This is before the digital age, And so I went through that, and I found it. They're bigger in Dallas, as they say. He had voted wrong, So I called back. Well, this time I spoke to him, and he said, well, I voted I voted right the first time. And then they voted on it again.
That's a John Kerry move, isn't it?
He voted wrong. And I said, well, we can't really, we have to use one vote, and we always use the last vote unless there's some big reason not
to. The floor vote.
Yeah. The final vote is the one that we use. And so there have been people that are very happy with their scores, and some people not.
Yeah, you had said at one point in a previous conversation we had, the first time you realized the effectiveness happened to be a summer special session going on. And you and Ron were just, kids. You were still in your 20s.
Oh, okay, I think I know what you're referring to. Clyde Rollins, who was originally the editor, and I was the associate editor.
Yeah.
We went to the special session. We were sitting in the gallery. And the reason we were there is we always distribute the paper to the legislators. Mm-hmm. And so we went and sat in the gallery, and we looked down there, and all these legislators had the Oklahoma Constitution on their desk. This was very early on. And they started asking people, well, how'd you score on this, and all this, and they were having a lot of fun with it, I guess. And some guy goes, well, I want to know just who is this Clyde Rollins, Of course, he's sitting next to me. I wanted to say, here he is. So is that what you were referring to?
Yes.
Yeah, and so they were asking each other their scores, and there was a Democrat from Muskogee at that time named John Monks.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and he vote today. He'd be a Republican.
He would.
You know, and so, well, John Monks, how'd you score? Well, I scored 100%. You know, and I have found there's a real correlation between the people who like the index and how well they scored. You know, it's amazing.
Now, do you get involved in the city races as well?
Not much. You know, there might be a case to do that.
What I'm getting at is when I ran a couple of years ago for the city council, did you guys chime in on that city council race?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
We were just, you know, that would be hard to do, you know, on a consistent basis.
Although one of your past contributing writers, Ted King's been in on the show. He's from up this neck of the woods and gets a little more involved. You guys being down in Moore, Norman, Oklahoma City area, you can't do it right if you don't have.
Ted kind of was our northeastern Oklahoma guy for a while, and for some reason he decided to not do that anymore.
Well, you know, I decided to do this aggregate, soonerpolitics.org. That was kind of my way of bringing it more online. Since then, now you guys have moved to a blog style, so you know that's great. I carry your stuff that way, but you know, I think it's important to have all of these resources. In fact, when I was covering the tragic death of Mark Costello, and Kathy, his widow, at the time said, you know, the police said, do not go online, don't read any newspaper accounts, you cannot handle it. Well, she couldn't sleep one night. She pulls up Sooner Politics because Mark had told me, he says he's addicted to my website, you know, and she saw his last speech, and it was on mental health in the Rotunda. And Pat McWegan, you know, is kind of the grandfather of us conservative journalists. He called me a pioneer of online journalism, and I'm just like, I'm always hung on to that. But we've got to constantly find ways to reach out. And that's why I kind of moved over to podcasting, because I wanted to hang out with Eddie. He's a legend up here. You know?
In his own mind.
That headphone's not to help him hear. It's to keep his head from exploding and getting too big. So anyway, but I love what you do. And now you changed it. You guys kind of in-house did the scoring. But with the advent of Rush Limbaugh and the Rush Rooms, how did you guys change that?
Well, what happened was there were just a handful of guys that would get together for lunch and listen to Rush Limbaugh.
Rush Room, they were
Rush Rooms. And that evolved into the Oklahoma OPAC, Oklahoma Conservative Political Action Committee.
Yeah. And it's still very strong today.
Very, very strong. It's changed a lot over the years, but and after we had been doing this for a few years, we decided to let them kind of chime in and, you know, get their viewpoints on whether is this a good vote to use and everything. And it was real practical for a while because it was a smaller group, but eventually it got to be this large group, and everybody, all these people want to put in their 2 cents. You know, when you got 50, 100 people, it became impractical.
Well, Senator Nathan Dahm learned early the value of being a member. Because he got to influence what they score.
Yeah.
And he always scored the highest.
Well, he had good conservative ratings always. But so now Ron and I have, you know, like veto power. We're not going to put something in just ridiculous. But we have a small group that gets together, you know, half a dozen.
Okay, so you've gone back to the small group now.
Small group. And, you know, Charlie Meadows is one of them.
Okay.
And I, you know, we just did this the other day, compiled the conservative index, and it was funny at the end of it. I said, Charlie, this is 2 years in a row you and I haven't had any disagreement on this. He goes, well, you're wising up, Steve. You know,
hey, Steve,
that's how we do it.
You showed me something before we went on the air, and I really want to make sure we don't skip that, so we can go to that. And that is, we just dodged a bullet regarding the nonpartisan elections here in Oklahoma. Thank goodness the good people of Oklahoma had enough sense to realize you don't want to do that. as opposed to the people of Tulsa who have done that. And it's funny because when I first came up, was it 20 years ago now, maybe 15, 20 years ago, I remember being at a Tulsa County GOP meeting, and I don't even remember who the speaker was, but he got up and told us that if you pass this, if you allow this to pass, you may never see another Republican leader. Because, and he used the liberal state, New York, New Jersey, all these, California, where they have basically a popular vote, a local popular vote. And sure enough, what happened? That's where we are. You cannot get. So you had some statistics for us on this past election. What would have happened had we gone with just a popular vote and a general vote? And can you share with
that? It's sometimes called the unified ballot. Sometimes it's the jungle primary.
Yeah.
And the way the jungle primary works is everybody's on the same primary ballot: Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Independent, Communist, whatever.
It might label their party, but it doesn't separate them.
Yeah, that's right. They're all on there, all in one group of people. And the two top vote getters advance to the general election unless somebody gets a majority. And they use this in California. And I want to, as an aside, there are other things that we have to watch out for, like the ranked choice voting. That's really moved things to the left in Alaska, which is a Republican state.
That's why we still have Murkowski, right?
Yeah. Like Sarah Palin lost congressional race because of ranked choice voting.
Can we do this and then let's dwell on ranked choice voting?
I was just going to. There are all these efforts to blunt things, and so if the jungle primary had been in effect in this last election, I'm just going to focus on two races here. In the state school superintendent race, what would have happened is that Jeanette Marshall would have run first. She was a Democrat.
Jenny Marshall, yeah.
Okay. And then Franklin, who was registered as a Republican, but is anything but a Republican, he would have finished second.
Yeah.
Taylor, who is now in the runoff, would have finished third, and he would not have gone to the general election.
Yep.
And then on the governor's race, Cindy Munson, the Democrat nominee, she actually would have finished first because the Republican vote was so split up. And Drummond would have finished second, so you would have been choosing between Munson and Drummond, and Mike Mazie would have been eliminated.
Yeah.
So you can see what they're doing. One of two things is going to happen: either an out-and-out Democrat will get elected, or a less conservative rhino, what do you want to call them, like Franklin, which is really horrible, or Drummond. That's that is the intent of this whole thing.
The funny thing about Republicans is they tend to be original thinkers and independent minded. They have convictions, and you can't threaten them out of those things. And whereas the Democrats, they still succumb to "I'll break your leg." Or, do you love your wife? Do you want her to live? Kind of. I know your children. I know where they go to school. Those kinds of hints. And it happens. Yes, I am accusing the Democrat thugs of doing it. Not everybody in the Democrat Party, but that's how they get what they want. Everybody falls in line.
Let's just say we will make your life miserable.
Yes.
Leave it at that.
Can I give another example in another state? Louisiana used to use this jungle primary, and they've kind of moved away from it. But years ago, they had everybody was on the same ballot, and they had two people. Edwin Edwards, had been governor of Louisiana before, had been indicted for bribery. He escaped conviction. But he had good name identification.
Oh, yeah.
And then David Duke, who was like, I don't know what they call him, Imperial Wizard or whatever.
A Klan member.
Klan and everything. So they both had good name identification.
Yeah.
Now, neither one could have won a primary.
Yeah.
Okay, they would have lost. but because they were in this jungle primary, they were the top two vote getters, like with 25 and 23% of the vote or whatever. And so they advanced to the general election. So the people of Louisiana had the choice between these two people. And there were bumper stickers as I'm voting for the crook and, and stuff like that.
Well, I vote for the racist.
Yeah, or the bigot. So Edwards won, and then not long after that, he did the same thing, got indicted again. This time he got convicted. So that's a nightmarish. And that is why runoffs are good things in primaries. Right. You don't have you have less chance of that happening.
Now, okay, if you got something else, because I want to get
no, it's on this issue. Rush Limbaugh had jokingly said, back in 2008, that maybe we need to pull the lever for Obama because he was so sure Hillary was going to get it, and it was anything to stop Hillary. And he got what he wished for. We got Obama as a president.
Yeah, and then you're saying there's a difference in ranked primaries.
The ranked choice.
Oh, ranked choice.
Yeah, primary. And that the way that works is when you vote for one person as your first choice, and another person is your second choice, and so then they just start, when they start counting, they go, okay, nobody's got a majority here, so we go to their second choice. And it's just madness.
Yeah, that would be pretty.
And that's the only way that Democrats win in Alaska.
Yeah,
because they had that ranked choice.
And Murkowski is effectively a Democrat.
Yeah.
So
or left wing, more left type Republican.
I mean, yeah, she's more against us where it matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, on this Save America, she's the one holdout that's stopping them right now on the Save America bill. That Trump is just saying, I ain't signing your housing bill until you guys pass something there.
How does someone like that remain in office, considering Alaska, I think it's a fairly still conservative state, but so how is she able to pull it off?
Well, she's able to pull it off like the ranked choice voting kind of. It's kind of like the Drummond situation or the Robert Franklin situation. That's kind of how it happens.
So what happens is, let's say you're Democrat, you're going to vote for the outright Democrat first. If you're a conservative Republican, you'll vote for, say, Sarah Palin. But everybody's second choice is that rhino in the middle.
Yeah.
And she's always that default. It's basically telling people pick some wishy-washy middle of the road.
So that's what their hope is.
And they're getting it.
Yeah.
And so in essence, in our upcoming runoff, the Democrats could, I thought of this morning when I woke up, that there's still time for Democrats to register as Republicans and then switch back before the general. Is that correct? So they would essentially be able to mess with that.
I'm not sure.
So is it locked in?
Party switching is not. A new registration, they'll take them now. Right. But party switching, there's only a small window for party switching.
And that's before the primary.
It's to prevent this kind of thing.
Right. But that did happen in this. They openly encourage people to register Democrats to register Republican before this last primary. And vote for Drummond.
Right.
And vote for
Franklin.
Oh, Franklin.
Because you remember, Steve, it used to be in Oklahoma, if you lost a primary, there would be now another open registration to run for the same office as an independent.
Yeah, that's I don't think that should be allowed either.
Right, we got rid of that. But in the 80s, when Terry Young, you remember he'd been the mayor here at Tulsa, and very contentious, very controversial guy, and he lost in the Democrat primary to a guy with no experience, a guy that had an outdoor sign company, Tom Quinn. And at his concession speech, he says, all I'm saying is if there's something wrong with Tulsa, if you can't do better than Tom Quinn. Well, then the Water and Sewer Commissioner, Patty Eaton, then registered to run as an independent.
Okay.
And now the nice thing for us is it split the Democrat vote. And we got Dick Crawford, a Republican mayor.
So how do you see the runoffs coming? Do you think Mazie has much of a Or where does he stand as opposed to Drummond?
Well, I think that Drummond has probably gotten all the votes he's going to get, roughly, because if you look at the other candidates, and I've heard, I've been hearing this for several, few months now, is that everybody, they may have been for Mazie, they may have been for McCall, Keating, or Merrick or whatever, they ain't going to vote for Drummond. So I think that Drummond's vote is coming from the rhino, moderate, whatever you want to call it. And so, he'll get some of the votes from McCall and Keating and whatever, but not much, because I said for a long time, whoever's in that runoff with Drummond will be the next governor of Oklahoma.
The millennials won't get this, but you, I think, will. Wouldn't you say Drummond is this year's version of Vince Orza?
Pretty close.
Yeah. No,
it's that type of thing. Yeah.
Vince Orza is a very strong, opinionated, very alpha male. Ran for the Republican nomination for governor, won, but then got beat by Bill Price
in the runoff.
And
that's why I strongly believe in runoff.
See, and then 12 years later, he runs as a Republican.
As a Democrat.
I'm sorry, yes, a Democrat, and he won the primary, but in the runoff, Brad Henry beat him.
Yeah, I remember I was at some event, and Brad Henry was there, and he was running for governor, and Orza had switched. And I said to him, well, Orza is going to win. He's going to run first. But then that's all the votes he's going to get, and you're going to defeat him. Now, I didn't think Brad Henry would defeat Largent.
Yeah.
Of course, I think Largent kind of imploded.
Well, our friend Gary had something to do
Gary
with
that. Richardson.
Yeah.
And also, it was really silly of Largent to come out on the cockfighting.
It was.
I mean, all that did is drove all those cockfighters to the polls.
and then when he's basically cussing on the air, I think
that didn't help.
That was the dagger in the heart right there, because our good conservative Bible believing people, you can't drop a.
In all honesty, it was Gary Richardson running as an independent. Now, Gary was tight friends and business partner with Frank Keating.
Yes.
Okay. But he's running, and I would say he's the reason why Largent didn't win. But you and I ended up endorsing Gary several years later.
Yeah.
We believe in redemption.
Well, I thought he was that, and that's the thing is, people will say, "Well, why are you for this person? Why don't you like this person?"
Mm-hmm.
And I remember because I was for John Cox for state school superintendent. Like, well, you don't dislike.
I told you you'd like him.
You dislike James Taylor? I said, no, I think he's a great guy. Yeah, I just think that Cox is better qualified for that particular race.
Yeah.
And, and people go, well, do you like what Trump did on this? And I said, not particularly. And they said, well, why have you voted for him 3 times? And I said, well, I'll give you 3 reasons. Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden,
Kamala Harris.
Yeah. I mean, you have to make a choice.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was for Keating in the primary, but that's over with. Now you've got a choice between Drummond and Mazie.
I'll bet you
what are you supposed to do?
I'll bet you'll end up voting for Mazie.
Oh yeah, well that right now today, if you put a ballot, that's where I can't imagine voting for Drummond.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully there are anyway.
Yeah.
But Steve. So now in looking at the total landscape, keeping it statewide, what do you see as the most important issue facing us that people need to be aware of, and that people need to, even if it's something down the road a little bit?
Well, I think we dodged a bullet with this state question, 832 going down. Minimum wage deal. And there's so much there is that one, it implies that it is the role of government to set a price.
Yeah.
And it is not the role of government to interfere with the free market, and what you're going to do is if you, and I said, well, the minimum wage makes no difference if it's below the market, like it is right now. The minimum wage is below the market price for wages. Hardly anybody's going to work for $7 an hour.
Right, and nobody is hiring anybody at $7 an hour anyway. It's naturally people. You know, you can go to Wendy's or Brahms, and it's $12 an hour. So
but if you set that wage higher than the market, the business owner has a couple of choices. They can try to get along with fewer workers. They can try to raise their prices, which you can only raise your price so much, and you lose customers. Or they can maybe automate. You know, who knows? And some businesses will just simply go out of business. You know, if that happens. And so those are practical effects. But as a philosophical, once you say the government should set any price, what's the argument against them setting all prices? If you think they're wise enough to set this price, why can't they just control the whole economy? And I don't want that.
No. And something, the common person, if I'm making between $7 and $12 an hour, some between 15, well, it sounds great to me. The problem is, what about the guys that are making 15 now? You jump me up to 15, or the people that are making 12, and now all of a sudden, you know, all of us are in the same boat, but I'm theoretically superior to you in the job. I'm middle management or some supervisor or something, and now all of a sudden, my 15. So, do you boost them or have to fire a few of those? And if you boost them from 15 to 20, 25, then what about the next? You know, and people, for some reason, they don't stop to think about that. It's not just about you. It's not just about this. It's about the whole system here. There's a closed system. There's only so much money and it's not even major. I did terrible in economics in college. Okay, my worst grades in college were economics. I passed, but I wasn't an economist material. So, but I'm smart enough to know that if you raise this, it's going to raise this. And if you raise this to this, it can only raise it so much before the company shuts down, like you said, or people up here start losing their jobs. So that's what I don't understand, how people, it's either they don't care enough about, I'm not worried about them, I don't care about them, I just want me, or you're going to have less people down here at the low level getting hired and you increase the unemployment. So I just wish people would understand that, and thank God that the voters in Oklahoma, enough of them, understood this to be able to vote the right way on that. Do you see us being able to maintain that, or do you see it each time encroaching where that thinking may grow more to where people would eventually raise the minimum wage? And I think the worst thing about this last bill was that it wasn't set. It was an ever increasing scale.
Constitutionally mandated. The legislature can
for it to keep increasing. I think that may have been as much of the killer as anything else.
I think that was it, but it's unfortunate that it had to take that instead of people understanding principles of the free market.
Yeah.
You know? I just discovered something. You know, it's great when this little pea brain actually works. But I think the out-of-state money that was thrown into that was because they're losing industry to the likes of Oklahoma and Texas. One of our big driving points is our low cost of living. And the language of that state question says Oklahoma has to be at the national average on labor. And all of a sudden, that advantage we have for startups or mom and pop business or whatever, we lose that. And I think if you're some California think tank liberal at the Presidio, you want to shut down this, mass migration out of the state.
I think if you really want to help low income people, you stop inflation. That's what hurts. Because if you think about it, some wealthy person that lives in Nichols Hills, no, you know where that is, in Oklahoma City, or well, I don't know what the equivalent is.
Brookside.
Okay, in Tulsa. Do you think they really worry about a 20-cent increase in the price of a loaf of bread, or the gasoline prices, or anything like that?
If they did, they wouldn't shop at Whole Foods.
So and of course the reason we have inflation is that's an increase in the supply of money. But what generates that is, of course, there's pressure with government spending.
Yeah.
And so, you go back to the 1920s, and we had prosperity in the 1920s in the United States, but it should have been even more. But the Federal Reserve increased the money supply 62% in the 1920s.
Yeah.
Had they not been doing that, prices would have fallen.
Yeah.
And so people would have been able to purchase a lot of things that they ordinarily, they otherwise couldn't purchase. And I think that's one of the biggest causes of the Great Depression was that.
Yeah. I've got 4 things that before you get out of that chair we need to deal with.
Let me just could you twist your mic a little more? There you go. That way. You don't have to get any closer. Just at the angles.
Okay. We've got to talk about why that book's sitting on the counter there. That's number 1. Number 2, we got to talk about a great organization called the Oklahoma Conservative Assembly that you've been a part of for years. A publication, how people subscribe to the Constitution newsletter, Oklahoma Constitution. And then, how about those Sooners baseball boys? All right, let's take them in order. Let's talk about the book.
Okay, this book is Separation of Church and Hate. And of course, that's a play off on the expression separation of church and state. But this is really nothing about that. I mean, sometimes books have subtitles. And just reading the subtitle can kind of tell you what this book is. It says A Sane Person's Guide. So if you don't agree with, you're not sane. A Sane Person's Guide to Taking Back the Bible from Fundamentalists, Fascists, and Flock-Fleecing Frauds. Now, this book is written by John Fugelsang, who's from New York. But what makes it important to Oklahoma is in Norman, where I live, they had the debate for the school superintendent candidates. And they were asked to bring and recommend a book. The book that Robert Franklin recommended is this one.
Okay, that's the guy currently running our Tulsa Tech.
Okay,
right.
I think that is correct.
That's So
and running for superintendent.
He's running for state school.
So he's already corrupting Tulsa. He now wants to corrupt all the public schools in the state with this and here's their term, Christian nationalism.
Yeah.
I saw a gal online talking about we got to stop Christian nationalism. I said, are you worried about Buddhist nationalism? Well, that's not a threat.
Islamic.
Yeah, that's not a threat to me.
To me.
So it's really about Christianity.
Yes.
And the conservative cultural impacts.
But Robert Franklin, he used to be a Democrat, I understand, registered Democrat, and now registered Republican. Just a little tidbit here is he gave a hefty contribution to Joey Hoffmeister.
I'm not surprised.
It was the Democrat candidate for governor of Oklahoma. Now, she had been state school superintendent. Remember, she ran as a Republican, got elected as a Republican, then she switched parties.
She was on the Jinx School Board first.
Okay.
And known Republican. Now, you'll know this. A lot of the millennials won't. Probably the biggest advocate back in the 90s for public education, the whole bureaucracy, was Mary Easley. Remember Kevin Easley's mother?
Yes.
Joe Hoffmeister is her cousin.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
she's related to
the audience is even reacting to that.
Yeah,
learn something.
I had a client. I was putting up Christmas lights, and I said, "Steve, are you married to? Are you related to Kevin and Mary?" He's like, "Well, yeah, I am, but I'm most closely related to Joy Hoffmeister. She's my cousin." It's funny.
So the point here, she ran as a Republican, got elected as a Republican, but she wasn't Republican. No. And so then she switches to Democrat and runs for governor against Stitt in 2022 when Stitt was running for re-election. Robert Franklin gave $250 contribution to Joy Hoffmeister. Mm-hmm. That was just 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. He supported the Democrat candidate for governor in the last election. Now, there's the thing about this book, there's so much. You could spend a couple hours going through all the left-wing stuff, but just look at some of the chapters in this book will kind of tell you. Master race Christians. Okay. Thou shalt not hate feminists. Thou shalt not hate gays. Thou shalt not hate illegal. Thou shalt not hate on poor people. Thou shalt not kill people who kill people to prove killing people is wrong. Thou shalt not hate gun control. Thou shalt not hate Jews, Muslims, and atheists. Thou shalt not be nor defend a white supremacist. Thou shalt not let go of thy sex hang-ups. And in that chapter, he says Jesus never technically comes out against premarital sex. Mm. And then it concludes with this charming advice. After all, if God didn't like sex, he wouldn't make us cry out his name when it's especially hot. This is the book that Robert Franklin recommended in the state school superintendent debate. So I think we can see what kind of state school superintendent he would.
I want to say, my show prep today, I went to Breitbart, and one of the headlines that's still up there, James Calorico's running for Senate, Texas. Yeah. He is the embodiment of that doctrine in that book right there. And he says, this headline, Calorico says black churches understand Jesus better than white churches. But that's not a racist statement, is it? No. And then he says, he calls Christianity the most violent religion. And he's a Presbyterian minister in training, don't you know?
I guess he's the liberal Presbyterian group, I presume.
Yeah, the ones who hate Christianity.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway, there's that. Now, I'm at a website here, the Oklahoma Constitution. Simple 2 words, idea, no hyphen, no dash, no funny spelling, no Z's in it. OklahomaConstitution.com. And there's a menu button at the top that says subscribe. And how much does it cost for a year?
$20.
Ooh, it used to be $15.
Well, our expenses have been going up.
Absolutely.
Especially
no, that's cheap because 10 years ago it was $15. So
you're talking to Dave, who, as my father would have said, could squeeze a nickel until the Indian rides the buffalo.
You know what happened? This last month? I buy a lawnmower on Amazon, an electric one, right? Rechargeable. Uh-huh. And it comes, I love it. And I look up there, they dropped the price $10. Well, I'm returning this one and I'm reordering $10 less. Eddie finds out and his wife says, we need one of those little ones. Sometimes the lawn guy doesn't do it right. And, you know, his wife does the real work at home, you know. I'm teasing him.
I'm too busy using
one. And I said, well, I need 130 because that's what I paid for. He's fine, you know. And so I would have gone to all that work for $10. That's just me. All right. I admit it.
Well, it's $20. Yeah. You get 4 issues.
Oh, yeah.
It's quarterly.
Yes.
And our summer issue, of course, is the ratings.
Yeah.
Conservative index. You want me to tell them where to subscribe?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can go to the the website and get the information. It's www.oklahomaconstitution.com. And then it's P.O. Box 53482, Oklahoma City, and 73152. Now, I want you to notice I go slowly. One of my pet peeves is people will call me on the phone and they'll say, "Could you call me back? My number is blah, blah, blah." And they say it like they're in some kind of a hurry, and I have to replay the machine 4 or 5 times to get it. So I believe
it's the worst when they're coming, they're Pakistani or Indian, from India.
And Steve, you still have a home phone, don't you?
Yes, I have both.
I teased him one time online. We were talking, and I said, "Why would anybody have a home phone?" And you know what he said? "I need a phone that I can call my cell phone to find out where it is when I lost it." That's true, isn't it? Say that.
Well, also when we have that, what is it that is going to wipe out all the electricity?
Nuclear, fry.
I can't remember what they call that.
EMT.
EMT attack.
Yeah, there you go.
The landline should still work.
I hope so. Yeah, no, the way you're going slow there, I thought you were about to say Junior Samples BR 549.
Yeah.
The millennials won't get that one either.
No, not at all.
But anyway, so there's that. The used to be called the Oklahoma Republican Assembly, and then you guys decided to go nonpartisan.
Oklahoma Conservative Assembly, and the reason for that was that there was all this forms and paperwork and thing to become an Oklahoma Republican Assembly. So I decided just do this.
Yeah, Richard Engel hassled me too. Yeah. So, and then he quit the organization.
Yeah. And so what we do is we meet, except for June and July, we meet every month at Van's Pig Stand in Moore.
Oh.
And we meet on the second Thursday. We kind of start gathering around 6 and 8 and kind of solve the world's problems. And then about 6:40, we had the program.
Yeah. So just to get a little inside scoop a little bit here, the Oklahoma Constitution, who are your choices or recommendations for basically, 4 or 5 runoffs, starting with governor?
Well, the Oklahoma Constitution doesn't make endorsements.
Oh, you don't?
We just slant it a certain way.
Let you figure it out. Okay.
But no, I've already kind of expressed that
you're pro Mazie.
I'm a Mazie over Drummond.
And
then for lieutenant governor,
he's already
decided. I was for T.W. Shannon. Anyway, so
you're definitely James Taylor guy.
And James Taylor over Robert Franklin.
Yes, a real Republican.
Yeah.
And you and I know James well enough.
He's a really nice
He's the
guy,
real deal.
really good guy, good, philosophically sounded and everything.
And I might say, I think you told me this when you came in, James would like nothing more than to have all the help that John Cox wants to be.
I think they are very close. They got kind of friendly on the
good
campaign
man.
John's always been friendly with
good man.
And so I think he recognizes John Cox has a lot of ability that he could use. I don't know if it'd be a formal deal or just informal, but
last one's Kevin West is in a runoff.
Kevin West for state labor commissioner. He's come and spoken to the Conservative Assembly. I kind of call him my legislator because mine's a Democrat in Norman. You try to run in Norman, Oklahoma for state representative, it is kind of a pocket of that there. And so anyway, he comes and has been coming, giving us a roundup and then a preview, of the next. So I've gotten to know him pretty well, and he's got the experience and he's a carpenter and all this kind of stuff. So he would make a very good labor commissioner, I think.
Yeah.
And then we have what else would be this? The state treasurer's already decided. Although I thought we had a good state treasurer.
Yeah. Do we have a Corporation Commission race.
Corporation Commission. That
I think that was
settled.
decided. Yeah, that was.
Brad Bowles.
Brad Bowles.
And it's that, so I don't need to make any kind of.
So there's no congressional, U.S. Senate. The whole Washington delegation now, the Republicans are set.
It's set.
Yeah. And any thoughts on Lawmeyer's demise and what we can learn from it?
Well, yeah, I think so, because they're careful how I say this. There are some people, all you got to do is stand up and say, I'm a good Christian, and some people will vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so, like in the case of Lawmeyer, to be honest with you, I've never been really impressed with him.
Mm-hmm. Again, where we're like-minded.
Yeah, I've always kind of had some questions about him. Now, I'm not saying all preachers who run for office are not qualified or anything like that, but are really right. But you know, Tedford was. If I'd been in Tulsa, I would not have. I would have voted for Tedford.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for what little I knew about it.
Well, I know I got in the doghouse with you when I made a Babylon Bee joke about there being a Baptist mafia in this state. Now, my friend Ted King, I joked to him about the Catholic mafia.
Uh-huh.
Because they are overrepresented, and he owns it, you know, and he's just pretty proud of that. So, but I meant it all tongue in cheek. So those of you who just remember him chewing me out online.
But you kind of see what I'm saying is that people need to be discerning. Just because somebody, just about every Republican candidate now says, "Oh, I'm a Christian." Well, that's great. Well, just because they're a Christian, does that mean you want them to do brain surgery on
right?
You know?
Just like I'm an avid supporter of Donald Trump. That's the other one.
You know,
that
everybody.
I
told Bridenstine this. He went to OPAC and told them, "You really can't do better than James Langford." And I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. And I think there's a lot of people but I think a lot of kids remember their kids coming back from Falls Creek all fired up for Jesus, and Langford's the reason.
Yeah, and
that's all the logic you need.
If James Langford is the next door neighbor, it'd be great. But he is not right on some things.
Yes.
And that immigration thing that he came up with, that was a gift that just kept on giving for the Democrats. So,
well, and he's the one that pitched the Juneteenth national holiday that cost us how much, and
I mean, you go down the line. I'll tell you what kind of got me in the beginning, way back. I used to be friends with his former chief of staff in Washington, and they came into town. So he came, we went out to dinner a few times. Then I invited me to come to the office. So I come to the office, and James and his wife come in. Oh, hey, how are you? They're very nice and nice people, very nice. But then as I'm walking out, as I'm leaving, he's having a meeting, a conference room, and it's every liberal
race baiters.
Well, yeah, but every liberal, what do you call them?
Special interest
group.
Yeah.
We used to call them something else, groups. but anyway, everyone, they're all in this room, and all of a sudden somebody looked up and saw me and decides to close the door real fast. Mm-hmm. But he, that, and then of course he's the one who started the whole thing for the race riot memorial down, and he wants to section off square mile of prime real estate in Tulsa to make a national monument to where it gets all these taxes. Did you not know about that?
Yeah, I knew a little bit about this.
Right, but that was him behind pushing this, And so I'm saying, I'm sorry, but you've got the wrong priorities. There are other things that are much more important than reviving and holding on to this, memory that people have, and most of them using it. So anyway, that's my deal. I think he and his wife are very nice, warm people. And like you said, if he were your next door neighbor, he's the kind of next door neighbor you would love having.
Yeah.
But as your representative in the bigger issues of life and state, I just don't think he's the guy.
Yeah, I think he just lacks that passion, commitment, and drive for our values. Couple of things. there's a gambling scandal going on in NCAA football, and before you get Eddie's read, where are you at on that?
You're talking about Brendan Sorsby at Texas Tech. I think that what the NCAA did was appropriate. That was the rule. He knew it was the rule. He did it anyway.
You got poked, Steve. Eddie.
And I don't think he should ever be able to play college football again. Because it goes to the integrity of the game. Sort of like Pete Rose. He's one of the greatest.
Should
Cincinnati
or Indiana, where he was when he was gambling, should they be sanctioning
it? It depends on whether they knew it. I think there should be an investigation to see if it was known, and if now they're not sanctioning Texas Tech, are they?
Well,
yeah, they want to. Here's what happened. They filed a suit against Tech.
He's a Texas Tech football player, by the way.
Okay.
So
Mike Leach was a great coach.
There you go. You saved it.
Just drop the Leach card.
Yes.
But probably, and you know why that is? Everybody loves Leach so much because he was so good at Oklahoma.
Yes.
He's the one who helped him get started.
He was just funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I don't know why he wanted to bring you into this whole discussion. But here's the deal.
I poked the bear.
Here's the kid, and our audience probably is getting more.
You two are getting along too well.
No. We still get along. I just think he's
I'm
not
joking.
totally informed. He's well informed, and I can agree with your intent.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the deal: if you're going to sanction or attack Texas Tech, then you must punish Indiana and Cincinnati, where this began.
Yeah.
Because Tech had no knowledge of it. In fact, they were in a battle between LSU. It was LSU or Tech to get him. And they finally got him in January. He decided he's going to come to Tech. This doesn't come out until February, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Tech suspended him, put him off the team. But legally, that's all they could do until the court case. The courts, and what gets me, I see this stuff on Facebook, a Texas Tech judge. The judge had nothing to do with Texas Tech. He went to TCU and I think it was Rice or TCU.
Well, that's against Texas Tech then.
Well, yeah, it should be, but he's the one who ended up cease and desist, the injunction that said he can play until we take care of this, which was going to be next year. Yeah. So, but the vitriol and everything against the school, who really had nothing to do with it. Had they known, I guarantee you they wouldn't have taken the guy. So they didn't know, but they're the bad guy. Now that the Big 12 is wanting to have them, Tech, pay back the $500,000 that they spent in bringing a case against them when the school never.
I don't think they should do that.
Exactly. But that's what's going on. And you got people. Drummond, you probably heard or read that Drummond jumped into it.
If it's anything publicity, he's going to jump into it.
Yeah. So that's the type of thing. I agree that the punishment to the player fits, but you got to stop it. But then there's the other side. You got what is he, 20, 21, 22 years old kid. I mean, basically he's still a kid in a sense. He starts when he's like 18 with this. And so maybe have been 17, and in a sense, essentially, you're ruining this kid's life.
Yeah.
They sent him to Tech when they found out. They put him in rehab to deal with this. They took his phones away. They took all of his communication where he could possibly gamble to try that. But it's like an ex-convict not being able to get a job again, and you wonder, well, what is he going to do? You know what I mean? You've already punished him with whatever you've done, and now you're going to punish him some more, which to me it's vindictive. And it sounds like, to me, honestly, it's more attack on Texas Tech than it is on Brendan Sorsby, because all you read in the media is Texas Tech and Sorsby, Texas Tech and Sorsby. Texas Tech essentially doesn't have anything to do with it other than they allowed him to come before they knew what his situation was.
Yeah.
So,
and that's where I'm at. I said to Eddie last time we talked, I said, how do you punish Sorsby without Tech also getting punished? It's pretty hard to. And so,
but wait, the punishment to Tech alone is saying he can't play. He's done.
That's what I'm saying.
That's where it should stop.
The traditional punishment is you're suspended, but that will also punish the team that recruited him. And I think Texas Tech should investigate a possible lawsuit against the NCAA if, in fact, they drag their feet. Well, they're recruiting him. They're offering him this big NIL money package. And here's the last thing I want to say on that. I think the right punishment in this case would have been if he stayed, he forfeits all NIL. That would have punished him without punishing school.
It's the old thing of who knew what and when. I mean, that's the bottom line.
A lot of times players aren't, but I'll give you kind of a little counter here. Is if you remember Rhett Bomar, played at the University of Oklahoma, and he was employed at a car dealership there in Norman. I'm not going to say he worked there, because evidently he didn't.
He was getting paid by him.
He was getting paid by him. They kicked him off the team. That was right before the season started. So that hurt OU. Now, fortunately, we had Paul Thompson that came in and did a very good job and all that sort of thing. But that was the right thing to do, was kick him off the team. I've never spoken to any OU fan that didn't think Bomar should have been kicked off.
The infraction happened while he was on the roster.
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay.
But the conference never went after OU.
You got to turn your mic on.
Oh, I'm sorry. But in that case, the conference never went after OU once they accepted the punishment or meted out the punishment. See, what we're talking about is the conferences, the other teams in the Big 12, and others, Nebraska and Michigan, of all people, who has no business with all of the shenanigans that have gone up there. They want their pound of flesh from the school who had nothing to do with it.
Well, that's who they hate.
What?
They hate the school.
But see, that's what everybody's missing.
Exactly.
They're missing the fact that this has become a thing where the bottom line is why they really are upset is Cody Campbell, the billionaire oil guy,
the NIL king,
who gave $50+ million for NIL money to the school, and that's what they all of a sudden Tech beat OU, and several others to go into the championship softball for several years, and all of a sudden we're conference champions, et cetera, et cetera. So people, it's so funny how easily they're manipulate and overlook things. And see, I would feel the same. Honestly, I would be just as adamant if this were OSU that were at fault, TCU, and whoever it is. I would be just as upset with the way it's handled as I am because it's Texas Tech. It's not because it's Texas Tech. It's, to me, the hypocrisy involved in this is my relation.
Last item before we go to break, despite lacking a bow tie today, you are a baseball aficionado like George Will, especially when it comes to OU baseball.
Well, okay.
And it's the biggest mystery is how this middle of the pack team, barely over 500 regular season, won the National College World Series. How did it happen?
How did it? Well, they played better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's why you play the games. That's one of the things that gets me is they will say things like when they were picking out who would be in the college football playoffs, they would say things, well, Georgia would be favored against every one of these other teams. And I thought, well, they lost to Alabama and they were favored over Alabama. So what are we going to do now? Just go to Las Vegas, what the odds are, and not even play games? Why don't we just do that?
But you got precognition.
Yeah.
But these guys peaked. It was the most phenomenal thing I've seen. The SEC named their all-conference freshman lineup. 48 freshmen, not a single OU player. And did freshmen play a factor in this OU team?
They played a huge factor.
Yes. Amazing. I mean,
it's the sports has gone to just the point where this is the other thing that ticks me off, really. One of the big reasons, this Tech Sorsby situation is so far beyond Texas Tech and Brendan Sorsby, because you got this SEC and Big 12 thing. ESPN owns interest in the SEC. Okay?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they're all for them. The Big 12 is, not Big 12, the Big 10 or the Big IG is owned by somebody. I mean, the way they pamper those two conferences just shows you that there's something going on.
Well,
here.
They are the sugar daddy. ESPN pays the big TV bucks. Now, who pays ESPN? DraftKings and all the other gambling outfits. But we can't have gambling in college football, even though it's funding the whole operation.
They literally killed the Pac-12. They literally killed the Pac-12 because of all the TV rights. Mm-hmm. And those guys, I'm kind of a USC fan from when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And, and I'm sorry, I'm really saying a bad word now, USC. But anyway, if you wanted to watch USC, Oregon State, all of those Pac-12 teams, the game started 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
Nobody outside of that area is watching them. So there's not a lot of interest, not a lot of money. And so that's why everything is so heavily favored towards the SEC and the
they're in the East,
right?
Yeah, it's the market
and the Big Ten.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is where we've come to, as well as the whole gambling thing that it's like telling kids you can't drink, but every time you turn on the TV, there's an ad about somebody's bourbon or beer or something like this, and it's just wrong. It's totally wrong. We have got to somehow take the money out of this.
Well, it's thing. Like your dad drives a beer truck for a living, and he says, "Stay away from alcohol." Even though that's what pays.
That's where we made our money.
Yeah,
it corrupts. Right. All right, man.
Well, Steve, is there anything else you would like to share with our viewers about the political realm, or anything that you feel is important for them to know and look ahead, especially in the near future on the horizon?
Well, I think we've pretty well said just about everything.
Hey, Randall University, they are a Baptist liberal arts school?
Yes, they're associated with the Free Will Baptist denomination. Now, I'm Southern Baptist, but they are located in Moore, and that's where I'm a professor of history, chairman of the history department. Mm-hmm. And if anybody listening has a child that might want to go to college, and it's a great atmosphere.
It's a beautiful campus.
Beautiful campus. Everything is great.
You remember I was down there when I was running for state party vice chair. I came to your county convention there, right in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's like, whoa, this is really impressive. That building is particularly. So.
And I'll tell you, a movie I would recommend is A Great Awakening. Have you heard about this movie? Mm-hmm. That is a great movie. George Whitefield.
Whitefield movie, yes.
He
was
made
a Presbyterian, wasn't he?
Anglican.
Oh, he's Anglican.
He made 7 trips to the colonies, and he became more of an American than a British by the end, but he died in 1770. Mm-hmm. One of the guys a man that there were skeptics, and all that, and one man that really made fun of George Whitefield was this guy named Benjamin Randall. Mm-hmm. And after Whitefield died, it was in the newspaper. Y'all know what a newspaper is. You've heard of it. and so he read that, and something hit him. It bothered him, and then he became a Christian. Mm. And he was one of the founders of the Free Will Baptist movement. Okay. And so that's how we're named Randall University.
Just before, we got to hold you now that he opened that door. Essentially, Southern and Mainline Baptists are pretty much predestination believers.
Who is?
Baptist.
The Southern
Baptist.
Southern Baptist.
Once saved, always saved.
Okay. Well,
and free will is as opposed to it's the Calvin Arminius debate. Are you predestined?
Do we have it right?
Well, I'm Southern Baptists historically have been something in between.
Yeah. Okay.
Calvinist, and we believe in eternal security, but we do not believe is a vast majority of the denomination Southern Baptists do not believe in predestination in the sense of you're predestined to heaven or hell or anything like that. Now, Free Will Baptists, they believe that you can lose your salvation by rejecting Christ. They don't believe you lose your salvation because you commit some sin.
Works based, because works didn't save you.
Yeah, works can't save you, so it can't keep you safe.
Exactly.
But no, there are Calvinists and Southern Baptists, but they are in the minority.
Oh,
okay.
What I often say,
I guess that's in North Texas then, because where I went.
What I often say to the people believing the once saved, always saved, I said, so tell me, did Luther choose to rebel, or did the devil make him do it? Did Luther choose to rebel, or did Lucifer?
Okay.
Lucifer was the devil.
Bingo.
Yeah.
He had free will.
Yeah. He was an angel.
There's a little hesitation.
He's not a human being.
Right. But he's a created being had free will.
But he is, as far as I read the Bible, he had no opportunity to repent.
Exactly. It was only mankind that God gave grace to.
That's true. That is true. And so I would say that, when Jesus said, I give unto them eternal life, and they shall never perish. Mm-hmm. No one shall pluck them out of my hand. Of course, the people believe you can lose your salvation. Yeah, but you can get out of his hand, and all. It goes back and forth.
It's a silly argument, as though we are in the midst of God's glorified, reality, and then we would choose.
Here's what I would say is, regardless of how you believe on that, you should, if you have any doubt about your salvation, mm-hmm. you should take care of that.
It doesn't make your calling and salvation.
Thank you, Pastor.
Yeah, make it sure.
And so I've heard people say, well, I was saved when I was 7 years old, but I'm not sure if I was. It doesn't matter. Are you saved now?
Yeah.
Have you trusted Jesus?
See, this gets into, I think, one of the things people don't realize about the vocation you have as an educator. You're teaching civics, history, all these things, but you have an opportunity to mold young lives. Yes. I think that aspect, it sometimes happens in the lecture and sometimes it's out in the hall, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I had a fellow worked for me one season, and he had come from your school. He spent a year there, and he had one of your classes. And,
who is this?
Trevor Delano. He was on the basketball team. He went there kind of on a partial scholarship to play ball there. He decided to pursue ministry. He went to Rhema after that.
A lot of the students are not Free Will Baptists.
Right.
There are other kinds of Baptists, other kinds of denominations, whatever. And some aren't Christians at all.
What are your predominant majors there? Is it a liberal arts school, or do you have more leanings to business or politics or political science?
Well, quite a few, people are in ministry or majors of some sort. And then the largest is business. We have a huge business program. And we have biology majors. We have history majors, and we have education majors. And so I do a lot with the education majors. They're going to want to be history teachers and stuff like that.
Is it expensive? Are there a lot of scholarships available? Just, in case there's people out there that didn't know.
It's I understand from what I gathered, it's a lot of times private schools are much more expensive than public schools, but you can go to Randall as cheaply as you can go to OU. And there are scholarships.
Yeah.
A like I can give so much scholarships to people in my program, I can make that decision.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
I got to say this because you're right on, and I talked to the guys at OCPA about it and others. What we're doing right now with our Board of Regents for higher ed, out of the legislative budget, roughly $1 billion gets handed over to them to distribute to the government-run higher ed colleges. That allows them to cut off the top the tuition rates for everybody. That means the millionaire and billionaires kids are getting subsidized largely to grocery tax that might be maybe coming from a single mom raising her kids who will never go to college.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is a predatory practice to undermine our private universities, many of whom are religious, not all of them. Whether it's TU or ORU or Wesleyan or Nazarene, they're literally the employees there, Steve, when they write you your check, there's withholding for federal and also state. And about one out of every $10 they take out of your state taxes is going to your competitor.
No doubt.
Yeah. And what I'd like to see, a simple change of that, is to match their FEDRA FAFSA score, Pell Grant numbers, and give that money directly instead of the university's legislature matches it, gives it to the kid. The money goes with the kid. It's just like the GI Bill. They could use the GI Bill to go to Randall, right? But see, the way our state's doing, we've already lost Phillips, we've lost Rose State. How many more private universities are we going to lose due to the predatory practices?
Well, one thing about our state colleges and universities is who appoints the regents is the governor. And my problem is when people say we've got problems in our universities in Oklahoma, we've had Republican governors now for a long time.
Yeah.
What, 16 years of Republican governors?
Well, yeah, Bellman and Keating even before that.
Well, Keating was in for 8 years.
Bellman for 4. Well,
there was an interruption there. See,
you had Walters and
you had Walters in for 4 years, but I'm saying 16 consecutive.
Yeah,
years.
You're right.
We have a problem. The governor should take more of a responsibility for putting people on the Board of Regents than what Mary Fallon and Kevin Stitt have.
Yeah.
Anyway,
no doubt.
Got that out.
I just wanted to plug that because I think your administration should look at that. Talk to OCPA about that and see if we can make a fundamental change so the money goes with the kid.
And I'll tell them David Van Rissingham.
Absolutely.
Hey, Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Has been really good, and we hope to have you back. Maybe just before the general election, we might have you back again, and even afterwards, so we can discuss the election results in the future. So, anyway, thank you, and God bless you and your wife. Thank you for coming as well, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next time we talk.
All right, we've got a break. And Eddie's got a lot to say as soon as he swallows. Cookie break, huh? All right.
I don't know about a lot to say.
Did you watch we were talking baseball a little bit. Did you happen to watch the Sooners clean house in Game 3? Yeah, it was
I only watch Sooner softball.
Yeah, good for you.
I'm not
because you wanted to watch Tech beat the snot out of them, right?
No. I enjoyed. I watched last year.
Yeah.
Or 2 years ago, I guess, when it was. When man, I can't believe. Are you serious?
Well, it was Tech last year. Tech knocked.
I know it was 2 years. I'm talking about 2 years ago when the Sooners won. National championship.
Yeah.
And that one girl, the pitcher they had, I think she was still there last year too. Looked like a school teacher.
Yeah.
Yes. Excuse me a second. This is what's really funny to me. I know I'm going to offend some people, but generally, softball pitchers, when you picture the classic female or classic softball pitcher, it's big girls. Let's just put that.
Kind of husky.
They're husky women, big women.
Usually pretty muscular too.
Yeah, but this girl that pitched for OU a couple of years ago,
the school marm,
she was slim, trim, very cute. With her glasses.
Very big glasses too.
I have this thing for girls with that wear glasses. For some reason, I don't know. It's since the 8th grade. There was this girl, Sandy something, that wore glasses, and I've always been attracted to cute girls with glasses.
There
I don't
you
know
go.
what that's it. But anyway, and my wife, she now wears glasses too, so so I'm okay in the ballpark. But anyway, I'm just not that big of a baseball fan, period.
It's a boring sport, I'll be honest with you. Softball's a lot more exciting.
I know. Well, it's probably because the field is smaller.
It is. It's a bigger ball, easier to hit.
Yeah.
The fastball isn't as fast. I mean, all kinds of things.
Yeah, but I don't know why. It's funny, too. I cannot watch an NBA game. It's some guy. He gets the ball, gets to midcourt and throws it up from midcourt and all that.
No one defends anymore.
Right. So as so many people, because of Caitlin Clark, I got into the WNBA. And here's my thing. I've been saying this from the beginning. Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
She should have taken the European deal.
Yes.
There was a team that offered her, I think it's 12 million, 25 million, something like that, in Europe to play in Europe. But no. Nike convinced her, her agent, all these people convinced her, and it hasn't stopped. It does not. I don't know if you saw the big controversy this week. There was a game, and this girl.
There was a fight, and a basketball game broke up.
Well, no. This girl got her down and basically put a fist
to her throat while she's on the ground, on her back.
While she's on the ground. Listen, these lesbian dykes literally hate her. Yeah. She is again, and her whole team basically. The difference is, what's the tall blonde?
Sophie or something like that.
Yeah. I can't remember last name. She doesn't take it. She'll fight back and she'll kick their butts and all. So they don't mess with her, okay? But Caitlin usually tries to stay out of it, walk away, take the high road, whatever.
Now they are the Fever, right? Indiana Fever. Yeah.
And they've been losing the last few games, like right at the end. They take it all the way towards the end and then lose it by a couple of points at the end. I mean, they'll have a big lead, and then by the end, when Caitlin comes out, the others.
Sophie Cunningham,
Sophie Cunningham, correct. Yeah. So anyway, that's how I am about sports. At least the good thing, well, in the NBA too, there was a guy who they got for fighting and doing some stuff here towards the end, and I got really mad. What's his name? Not Watanabe, something. Many syllables, from San Antonio. The guy who basically hates America. He's from France. He's an Franco-Afro, however you want to say, French and African, and he comes here, and of course, he fits right in San Antonio because Popovich, the former coach, literally hates America. He hates Donald Trump, hated Donald Trump, hated Republicans, hated anything.
Just like Steve Curry.
Right, those two in particular are the two. But anyway, and then now the new coach, who's basically a disciple of Popovich, now is pretty much the same. And you can see it. It's bled down into the team. Yeah. And to where it's affecting everybody.
You know what? We're not.
Go to France. Go back to France, if not Africa.
Last fall, we were talking about the phenomenon of the Dayglow green dildos being thrown on the floor. Remember those?
That was at the WNBA, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were talking about Caitlin Clark and the lesbians and all that. And I think it could be read in part as motivated by a cultural rejection of the lesbian predominance of women's sports.
I saw it.
Or a promotion for a particular dildo manufacturer.
Well, no, or I saw it as a thing of we don't need men. That's how I saw it.
Really? See, that's almost the opposite of what I was.
Yeah. To me, it was a thing of we don't need men. Girls can satisfy themselves or each other.
Wow.
Just give us this tool, and then we no longer need men. That's kind of that's how I always interpret it. But I don't know. I totally forgot about it. It was short lived, but yeah, they were giving. This is what's crazy. They were giving these things away at games. At their WNBA games.
Wow, I had no idea.
Oh, you didn't know?
No.
Oh yeah. This company was giving.
Because I'm wondering why it's always the same color, same design. You know.
Yeah, it was some company that was giving them out for free.
Oh, and then they wonder why they're being thrown on the court. Well, duh. I mean, I went to a Twins game once with my buddy, and he happened to come from the park. Met me there. He had a Frisbee in his duffel bag. They would not let him in because they said no, because that could be a projectile tossed on the field to disrupt the game.
It's funny because the Tech, I don't know if you remember this controversy before the Brendan Sorsby controversy, and that was the tortillas, flour tortillas.
Oh, yes.
Tech, they used to use them as Frisbee, and they would, anytime the refs made a bad, actually it started before the game, they'd start throwing, when the team runs out, everybody's throwing tortillas. Mm-hmm. And somebody buy a pack of tortillas.
Oh, yeah.
It was great for a tortilla dealer or manufacturer.
Well, yeah, and they're easy to stuff under your shirt because they come in a
Well, they didn't used to have to. You didn't have to smuggle a tortilla.
Okay.
It's not a weapon. It's not.
Yeah, this is Texas.
It's a tortilla. How dare you? How dare you insult my people of a Mexican heritage? Yeah. But and so they would fling these tortillas. Yeah. Like a tortilla is going to injure somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. The tortilla, you can, your cleats going, you're going to step right through them and keep going.
I know.
But that was the first thing. People got mad and started. The Big 12 had to make a rule: no tortillas at their game. Or it was no tortillas on the playing field.
Yeah.
So then they start throwing them into the end zone and around the field.
Yeah.
No tortillas. Period. It's like they don't have anything better to do than pick out silly things that people. It reminds me of when the NFL came down on the end zone celebrations.
Oh, yeah. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it started with Billy White Shoes Johnson and Elmo Wright from Kansas City. I guess he's actually the first one. And then Billy White Shoes Johnson. And they banned it for many years.
Even spiking the football.
Yeah, that's right. You couldn't spike the ball. Yeah. All of those things that were more for the fans, it used to, as they say, put butts in the seats.
Yes.
And
it created a show for TV.
Exactly.
Why do you think now when a big play happens, all the linemen run down to the end zone and they all choreograph? They do that in practice on Wednesday afternoons.
They have choreography.
Yes.
Here's the greatest of all time. Oh, I'll tell you why it stopped too. What really hurt it, and it was what is his name? Played for San Francisco and then played for the Cowboys for a while.
Dion.
No, not Dion. He was a wide receiver, bigger guy. Oh my goodness, I cannot think of his name. I just had it a second ago. Anyway,
not Michael Irvin.
No. This was.
Yeah,
he made his name at San Francisco.
Yeah.
And he made his name again in Dallas.
Terrell Owens.
Terrell Owens.
Okay.
Yeah, Teal. So anyway, when they were playing Cowboys, I don't know if you remember the game.
Oh yeah.
He ran out and slammed the ball. He spiked
on
it
the star.
On the star.
Yes.
And then of course here comes Emmett to knock him off the star.
Yeah.
And it started. There's no greater show than that. That's Ali and Frazier. I mean, that's
the best was Baker Mayfield planting the flag after the game.
Oh, that was silly.
Oh, come on!
That was nothing.
Oh,
no, seriously. I'm talking about nationally watched, nationally televised, and promoted. And Tio, and he did it. Well, the first time he did it, and then he did it again.
Like I'm Jesus. Well, he stood up, hands raised,
right, but he did it multiple times, and the second time is then when Emmett came. But anyway, that was one of them. But then the real amazing one was he caught a pass, beat everybody, runs to the end zone, and when he gets there, he takes the football. He reaches into his shoe, pulls out a Sharpie.
Yeah.
He had run 80 yards.
Yeah.
With a Sharpie in his shoe.
Yeah.
Caught the pass, run a touchdown, and has the Sharpie, and he autographs the football and throws it into the stand. But what's weird about that, that's when all of a sudden the NFL decided, oh, we must stop this. But can you, instead of saying and honoring the feat that had just occurred, that a guy ran 80 yards with a Sharpie in his sock. You know, you hear about rocks in your shoe. He had a whole Sharpie in his and runs to the end zone, beats everybody, and is still able to sign an autograph.
Yeah.
And what do? You fine him. You know, the stupidity on that. They should have quietly taken it. Hey, T.O., that was wonderful. That was amazing. But can you please not do it again?
I got a better one than that.
Okay.
The famous Minnesota Vikings going into Green Bay. They have to take a bus to the airport, from the airport to the hotel.
By the way, I don't think this is that famous, but anyway, it was famous in
Minnesota. The tradition in Green Bay is when you know that bus is coming in from the airport, a bunch of people line up and they moon the bus.
Oh yeah, I remember
that.
Right.
So after Randy Moss.
Right.
Big touchdown and everything. He does a pretend moon to the crowd.
That's right.
And then the next touchdown, he goes up, you know, the goal post has that padding that says Green Bay on it. He wipes his butt against it. He did get fined for those things.
Yeah.
And Bowie says, they started it. They mooned us for real.
You know, the selectiveness of some of the NFL rules and punishments are always.
Hey, let's talk about baseball in the hubbub over making all the players wear gay pride hats.
But several refused.
4 people, and thank God, Major League Baseball backed us as no fines, no penalties.
Yeah, they had to because they would have had such a backlash.
And they claim that they told the franchises you can't make them.
Oh.
And they're saying it's the franchise that pressured the players.
And I can believe that it was San Francisco is where it happened. So I can imagine that having. I remember several years ago in the NHL and the hockey league, they decided to do it, and several teams, including the Florida Panthers, where my son were, refused to do it. Well, here's the reason. Here's the reason they did. Their goalkeeper was Russian.
Mm-hmm.
New York had a Russian goalkeeper. There were several franchises that have these Russian goalkeepers. If they were to wear the gay pride outfits or whatever, they couldn't go home.
Yeah.
Because in Russia, we don't play that.
Yes, if you're publicly promoting it, that's one thing. It's even worse if you're caught in a homosexual act in Russia.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they literally cannot be caught promoting the gay lifestyle because it's still against the law in Russia. So that was the deal. So none of the Russians would do it. And eventually the NHL said, okay, we're scrubbing it. Now, the Panthers, nobody did. The whole team just refused to do it. So it's one of these deals I don't understand. Now, San Francisco, I can understand because the community, it's so gay friendly and there's so many up there. Then if you want to do it in honor of that community or whatever. Okay, if you want that support or whatever, do it. But you can't make people, and especially in other cities. That's a good thing. Jerry Jones, remember, Jerry Jones refused to do any of that stuff, and as well as the black, BLM stuff that he refused to take part in.
One thing, Jerry Jones, and I do condemn him for this. They were playing in Wembley, in England, and he and his players knelt all, what's his name, that quarterback that had been with San Francisco. Kaepernick, yeah. He knelt with his players and refused to stand for the Americans' national anthem, but then they played United Kingdoms. They stood for that.
Yeah, which is kind of stupid. That's why I was got on. Oh, what's the girl's name? The retired soccer player.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think everybody knows the gay. She's lesbian, and openly so. But that they would stand for the British or anybody there, every country they're playing. But when they stood and honored the British and Spanish national anthems, when they're the ones who brought the slaves to America.
Yeah,
that was the most idiotic display you can ever. It shows that these people are just idiots. They don't know their history, and they really don't care, because if it was really the issue, they would not be kneeling for the U.S. one unless they're kneeling in honor before. That's how I feel we could have turned it around and said, oh, look at that. They honor the Americans so deeply, they're bowing before it. I mean, that's the way I'd have just made fun of them,
Yeah.
But because they're standing for the British national anthem, but won't stand for us when the British are the ones who brought it. Did you know that America actually banned importation of slaves from 1776? When we found our independence, we banned it already. There was no transatlantic slavery anymore.
Well,
and in fact, we had what before the Coast Guard, we call them revenue cutters. Okay, and these were ships that would go out and try to stop smugglers.
Right.
And if they were smuggling slaves in, whiskey, whatever was.
And
banned.
enforcing tariffs as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and so but slavery was actually banned in the 13 colonies from 1776 on.
And it was written, though, into our Constitution to sunset in, I think it was 20 years. You could not.
Right.
I forget whether it's importing or any.
No, the importing was immediate.
Yeah.
That state, but the selling, I guess.
Right. But our current Constitution, when it was ratified, had a sunset clause.
Yeah.
In order to get it passed, they did compromise in sunset rather than immediate.
Yeah, right. And here's what people do. I used to not understand this. I finally looked into it and thought about it. And here's the problem. This was George Washington's thinking, and I think he wrote about it, that we had imported and kept these people in servitude without teaching what do you call it, a practical skill. Okay, and all of a sudden you wake up the next morning, okay, you're on your own, you know, we're no longer feeding you, we're no longer taking, just go make money. There were 12 million at the time. You got 12 million people that don't know how to take care of themselves. So what they were trying to do and hoping to do is that in that time, that the former slaves, or the former imported slaves, would be able to adopt and adjust.
Yeah.
It was the Confederates, the Democrats of the Confederacy, that ended up wanting to extend it. They didn't want to give them that freedom.
Right.
But the founders and the signers of the Constitution, they believed that it was against God and that every man was created in God's image with unalienable rights.
Yeah.
And so, but you're right, that was always seen. But the reason it took a while is because, and it's true, it's like you, if I were to adopt some kids and basically treat them like children up until they're 16, 18 years old, and then saying, okay, you're out of here, go fend for yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be really rough. That would be really hard when you haven't taught them anything, they haven't learned anything, how to live for themselves.
Yeah. One of the nice things that in the gay hat mandate, it was a rainbow, but not any messaging on it. One of the players who protest just simply took a paint gun and put, Genesis 9:12 through 16, And it just says, and God said, this is the sign of the covenant I'm making between me and you, Noah, and every living creature with you, a covenant to generations. I've set my rainbow in the clouds. It'll be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Basically, he's never going to destroy the whole earth by flood again. Yeah. So, and we can remember, the rainbow was created and presented us by God. The original purpose, he says, it's to remind, God says, to remind me of my covenant with you.
In fact, I think there's a book out entitled Reclaiming the Rainbow.
Yeah.
And it basically says that that symbol has been stolen from us, hijacked from us to mean something totally different.
Yep.
God gave it to show that he will never again destroy the earth by water. It's fire next time. So anyway, all right. So I thought that was a good hour with Steve.
I'm glad you finally met him.
Yeah. And you're right. It's funny. I did not discover the John Birch Society, or I knew about them, but everything I knew was bad. And I finally decided one day, because I'd heard people talking about they believe this, and I said, well, I kind of agree with that. So I decided to look it up and start reading their articles.
Yeah.
And I was actually pretty much impressed. Good articles. I mean, as you said about me and him, we think alike.
Yeah,
I thought just like the Birchers, So John Birch Society got a bad rap in the 60s.
Yeah.
It was through the whole Nixon, or actually, no, not Nixon, Goldwater. Goldwater, that era is what really gave the John Birch Society the bad rap.
Yeah, well, they were so dangerous they had to demonize them, the media and the left. But I think it was about a year ago, you were mentioning something in the New American, and I said, oh, yeah, my friend Steve Byas is one of their big journalists and stuff.
Yeah, that's the John Birch Society publication, the New American.
Yeah.
And if you haven't looked at it, check it out and see what you think. If you still don't think, that's fine. But I think you'll be really surprised, as I was.
Yeah. The main reason, though.
Yeah.
And Eddie talks about, he likes to poke the bear. And boy, he poked the bear with me one time on Facebook. And we got into it. And we found out we like each other, And I don't take it personally when Eddie just decides to get his kicks by poking the bear. And Steve Byas called me one day and says, why is Eddie Huff mad at me? And I said, he's poking the bear, Steve. He just does that. And in all fairness, his wife Donna sitting over there, she will debate me and she will bring it all, right? Yeah, I still love Donna. She's great. But it's the same thing. And I saw him at the state Republican convention last year, and he says, hey, is Eddie here? I said, no, he couldn't make it. Couldn't get his credentials in time. And but I said, you got to meet Eddie. And so today it happened. So
I'm glad to make you happy.
And you like his historical perspective on things, don't you?
Well, yeah, of course. And like I said, it is interesting. Even theologically, we had that little discourse about predestination.
Yeah.
But no, just good, sound thinker. I didn't realize he was a professor at the university too, so he really should know his history, and I believe he does. So I want to get with him again just to pick his brain about certain.
Yeah, he's written 2 or 3 books. I've got him, and he's got a good friend, John Breyer, who has probably the best Oklahoma history 2-volume set. I've got one of them, and just fantastic. So there's some great academic, leaders in the state. It was some of these private universities.
Yeah. I was going to tell you, I was with Jim Bridenstine again this morning, as we usually
Name
do on Saturday. But the scientist, engineer, Jim Bridenstine, physicist. Anyway, and we got into, not just me and him, we have a group of men that meet, but anyway, and what's nice, it's a small group of men.
It is.
I think there were 6. But anyway, so we're discussing today the expanding universe.
Yeah.
And it's always good to hear him give the different theories and things, and then us share ours, and I brought my scientific gravitas to the conversation when I mentioned Horton, Horton, Horton and the Who, I can't think of it. It's this movie about Whoville, Horton. Horton's everybody. Others will know it's a Dr. Grinch. I mean Dr. Man, I got so many things running through my mind at the same time. A Dr. Zeus book.
Okay.
Horton. Oh man, it's trying to get in there. But anyway, at the end of this, the movie. Okay, it's a cartoon movie, and there's this civilization. They're called the Who's.
Of Whoville?
Of Whoville.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And so, anyway, and they have this whole society and everything. So, but at the end, what it does, it shows them, and then it's like their universe shrinks down, smaller, 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 until you come back in. And you're coming back in through the solar system, and then the Earth, and then finally you come back to it goes all the way around.
So it loops.
So I brought that into the equation, into the discussion that we talk about infinity. So basically, we know that there's no absolute zero. You can't ever shrink. You got a tenth, a hundredth, a thousandth, a millionth, a 10 millionth, it's just smaller, 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 smaller. And so my thought is it possible? And apparently from Horton something with the Who, anyway, is it possible that they stepped on something or, revealed something that is a possibility, and that is that the universe is actually a loop. The reason it's infinite is because when you go either finitely in or infinitely in, you come back, and when you go infinitely out, you come back the other way. So anyway, it's just a thought I had, and something that my crazy mind thinks about.
Well, to that point, I heard something, this was back in the 80s, we were dealing with Middle East terrorists, and I think it was particularly Iranian in nature.
Oh, it wasn't Who's?
No, but here's my point. It really backs up what you're saying. He said the Eastern mind doesn't look at time in a straight line. They see it looping. They regard anniversaries as almost like reliving that important date. And I thought about you and I grew up both Roman Catholic. In Pat Buchanan's autobiography, he talked about growing up Roman Catholic. He says, Christmas is different to a Roman Catholic than it is to a Protestant. You feel like you're living Jesus' birth right then and there. When the priest on midnight mass, Christmas Eve, brings in and puts the baby Jesus, figurine in the creche, the little kids feel like Jesus is born now, like they're reliving it. And that's really kind of an Eastern mind concept of, the re-acknowledgement of things in our past. It's just different than a Western mind seeing time as on a straight line.
Right.
So
yeah, there are so many theories and so many possibilities when you consider infinity and you consider the universe, which basically is expanding. And that's why time is actually changing. It's not that time is changing, it's because of an expanding universe.
Right.
All the laws basically change, and it'll blow your mind.
Well, light continues to travel, and it travels at the speed of light.
Right, and that is what was part of the discussion.
Exactly.
That never changes. The speed of light is a constant.
It is.
And everything else around it. That's why he was saying that when they put a shuttle in and had it circle the earth so many times. When they got back, they checked the time, and their clock had either advanced or gotten behind.
I think it's behind
the nuclear clock.
The faster you move, the slower you age, is the concept of it. And yeah, I remember. And here's the thing: physics, of all the academic subjects, it tests the conceptual capacity of the mind more than anything
I'd
else.
go nuts.
Yeah.
I almost went nuts one time when I was contemplating eternity.
I had one of the kids on my son's varsity football team. He was the center of the team. He got accepted at the Air Force Academy, right? Which is a big honor, right? And his sophomore year, middle of the year, his mother says, yeah, he's going to pull out of Air Force Academy and go ROTC. Why? I said, gosh, he had a free education, at the Air Force Academy. So yeah, he still wants to be an officer in the Air Force, but he'll be able to do it easier going ROTC. I said, how? I said, everybody at the Air Force Academy has to take the same classes track. There's no, electives. See, in any college, as long as you get the credits and graduate and get your major, you're fine. And she said, he can't wrap his brain around physics too. He's had to retake it now. He's taken the class twice. And he just knows, I'm at my limit. And he can't graduate from the Air Force Academy without that class. But if he goes ROTC, he can just take some other class, get a credit. That's the problem with some brains just aren't bent a certain way.
No, it's true. No, I believe I was like that with economics.
I mean, you have 4 kids, and they're all different. They all learn different. Right.
I never could. I just never could wrap my brain around economics. It was just the weirdest thing. And no, you're right. And there's a difference though in an academy graduate and non-academy.
Yeah, your son made it through Coast Guard, right?
Right. But so what happens, basically, if you're a non-academy guy or girl, you're limited on how high you're going to, unless you're super, super special.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And usually it's major or captain in the they call it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah.
No, they play favorites. Let's say it. West Point guys are usually your generals, and they're going to favor other West Point guys over University of Minnesota ROTC, for instance.
Yeah, the pecking order is academy, ROTC, and then a commission, field commission.
Yeah.
So if you have somebody that grew up in as an enlisted man, they can switch over.
Is that called Officer Candidate Training School?
Yeah, or OT. There's 2. Army is OC, OCS, and then I think in the Air Force or Navy it's OTS.
And I think the only general that we've had come out of that was Bradley, right? Who made it up from enlisted.
I'm not sure.
Or Halsey, or
no,
one of them.
I think Bradley, Omar Bradley was an academy guy.
Okay, there was one guy noted in World War II who was the only guy who started out as an enlisted man. It's that rare.
And made it all the way to general.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just the way they do it. They just, it's a good old boys club like everything else. These are my guys, and we're going to promote our guys instead of your guys. Yeah.
Remember, what's her name? Amy Coney Barrett came out of Notre Dame, and that was considered outside the favored Yale and Harvard law schools.
Same as what was her name? The other female before the first female.
Sandy Day O'Connor.
University of Arizona.
Yeah. Now the interesting thing there is, in college, she dated William Rehnquist.
Really?
Yeah. That was the interesting thing.
Is interesting.
Yeah.
He was quite a bit older than her, though, wasn't he?
I don't know. Who knows? I just know they dated. That came out years later.
Yeah.
Because they had to discuss some case that had to do with sexual orientation or very prurient sexual matters. And
that's kind of funny.
yeah, it was like, we used to be a thing. I don't think it was ever mentioned, but it was some clerk for one of them happened to write a story years later after they're both gone.
So tell me, Dave, where are we? I'm gonna have to wrap up.
Yeah.
To my daughter's here, but where are we on this whole Iran thing? It's just I don't understand it. Maybe you understand a bit more.
Well, I know that the pro-Israel Amen Corner, as Pat Buchanan called, they're furious. We signed it because essentially we're forcing Israel's hand on Lebanon by signing.
Right. Well, that is an issue. We should not have done that. And not only that, but we're kind of forcing our hand even on the Iraqi situation.
Yeah.
Iranian situation, because we're basically saying, okay, we're not going to hit you, but you can hit us periodically. Mm-hmm. Not that we're giving them explicit permission to hit us, but they're doing it. Mm-hmm. And we're just sitting back. So, it's the old thing. You cross that line and we're going to get you. Yeah. And then we're going to cross, and you back up till you're at a cliff.
Right.
And you have no more lines to draw.
Yeah. I think we got played. I think we lost the negotiation. Trump got played.
Yeah, but how do you deal with getting played? You unplay. We're not playing anymore. Boom, boom, boom.
Last night I'm listening to Tucker Carlson, which was a very, his own version.
Yeah, right.
And, he said he thinks Trump realized this was a no-win 3 days in. And that is basically, here's the thing, he says, this got us busy with Iran and taking our eye off that they had just launched a major invasion of Lebanon. And the bigger picture being, we still don't know why and never have investigated who dropped the ball for that October 7th raid. Because listen, you're Mossad. Don't tell me you got caught by surprise. I don't believe that. Mm-hmm. I believe they just created the pretext so they could do this full-on just scorched earth. And I think they felt like they had no better support out of the U.S. than they'd ever get with Donald Trump. And
he's turned on.
I think Trump's finally reached the point where he says, I've had enough. And a lot of it is Trump is getting pushback. And it's splintering his base.
Yeah, but I think his base is stronger. Honestly, I think the best thing that he could have done, once he started in Iran, mm-hmm. the attacks and everything, just go do it. Get it over with. Let the people whine and moan and complain. And then after everything's settled down, they will back off.
Yeah.
When everything's stable and things are good. But
right,
this little piecemeal, a little here, a little, and trying to go, and especially he keeps coming out with these stupid things. Okay, we've made this agreement with Iran, and we're going to do this, and mm-hmm. things are looking good. When everybody knows it's not going well, right?
Yeah.
And so, to me, it reminds me. For example, I'll tell this one of my many stories. There was this kid that used to. He was younger. He was like a freshman. I think I was a junior or something. He was really he was bigger than me and everything. Mm-hmm. And he got in with the bad guy, the bully of at least our area. And this guy kept trying to convince him that he was really tough and mean, mm-hmm. mess with me. So, one day we're at a bus stop in the morning waiting for the bus, and this kid, I think it was right after trick or treat, and he's giving away, and I made the comment, wow, look at him, he's got a ton of candy, look at him, and he decided he's going to make it. So what do you have to say about blah, 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 something. Mm-hmm. And so I just say you got to, and I could tell he was egging for a fight. Mm-hmm. So, he walks up to me, decides to chest bump me and push me or something.
Yeah.
And he said, you want to fight? I said, well, okay. And so as he's taking his jacket off, I start pounding him.
Yeah.
And you would say it's not a fair fight. Mm-hmm. Right? Because I waited till his jacket got half.
Oh!
Yeah. And that's when I started.
You essentially had him tied his hands.
I did. And I didn't quit pounding on him, hands and feet, until he was basically weeping and crying on the ground at the time. And then our bus came, and I got on the bus and took off. And then he went actually to I think I was a sophomore, and he was like 8th grade. And so he goes on his bus, I go on mine to the different school. Well, my principal calls me and tells me that the bus driver called in that this kid had gotten beaten up by one of the high school kids or whatever. And so, I told him, I said, yeah, I did it. I did. But I learned from then, it happened again in my senior year of high school. There was a kid who tried to lead me out to fight where he had these GIs. I don't know if I ever told the story, but there were these soldiers that were buddies with, and they were waiting for me to jump me when I got out of school. But I had been warned that this might happen the next day, so I was ready. So he says, come on, let's go outside. I said, no, I'm going to say, if we're going to fight, we're going to fight right in here. He said, well, I don't want to get in trouble. I said, I don't either, but I'm not going outside it.
Yeah.
And so he comes at me, and I hit him, knocked him across the room, and then he tried to come back, and I just kept hitting. Well, next thing I know, he pulls this banana, a crate cutter.
Oh, box knife.
A box knife, yeah. He pulls this out of his jacket, and he starts coming at me with it. Well, again, I grabbed him, pounded him against the wall, and throwing him across the floor, And so he starts chasing me with this cutter, and I run into the band room and grabbed a note stand and followed it, folded it up and took this. Now I had this, 4-foot note stand. I said, come on now, and he's running down. Now all of a sudden he's running, and my friends that saw it, they grabbed him and, finally took the knife away. But here's what's funny. The principal, this is our education system, how I see it today. The principal and assistant principal were not men. Let's just put it, not manly men.
Yeah.
They were saying, boys, stop it. Boys, stop it. That was all they did, And this is like a pretty bloody fight all of a sudden.
Right.
So anyway, finally my friends jumped the kid, took the knife from him, and then they...
Now we know who the men at that school are.
Well, yeah, exactly. And some of them were freshmen, younger kids even. But anyway, so they separated us, and then he comes, they were telling him, because he was in a yelling at the assistant principal, so they basically suspended him, told him to go home. But instead, he decides to come into the principal's office where I'm talking to the principal, or he's talking to me, and starts coming at me again. And again, I just basically hit him and pounded his head against the radiator. We had radiators.
In the principal's office?
In the principal. We're fighting
Holy
in the principal.
Folks, have you heard this story before? We did not know this about you, Eddie.
Yeah, and so I'm pounding him against the principal, and he had, because when he first came, he attacked me, and it was like a slap.
Now, this is your senior year.
My senior year.
So this was Germany.
Yeah, this was in Germany. So he came and just kind of slapped me with his hand, and then I jumped up and hit him and pounded him. And finally he ran out. All of a sudden. Well, all of a sudden then the principal says, did he cut you? He thought he had a knife because blood's running down my neck. Well, this guy used to take his fingernails and file them into points.
Yeah.
It was like some witchcraft, deal. Yeah. It wasn't, but for some reason, he was filing his nails to points.
Yep.
And when he slapped me here, I have a scar there if you look closely.
Yeah.
And it gets infected. I'll get like a bump there, or and it's still affected from where he did that to me in there. Wow. But anyway.
Now this was a Department of Defense school.
Yeah, it was on an Army base.
Which our military runs these schools for the kids, the military brats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he told me to go home. I got to send you home, go home, and come back tomorrow. Well, the other kid where he blew it was that altercation in the principal's. They realized, because I told him, I knew he had planned to get in a fight, but he wanted to leave me out to get jumped by these GI friends of his. And so, and then when he came in, basically proved everything. You know, first he's got a box cutter, and now he cuts me. You know,
well, remember the 9/11 hijackings. The one from Boston, they killed a flight attendant with a box knife.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what put terror in everybody else. They did nothing, and then they all died.
Right.
But here's the thing I want to know. Isn't it true in the Dodd schools like that, a report would be issued, and whoever that boy's dad was or mom, whoever's enlisted, they get reprimanded for their son's behavior.
Not in that type of altercation between students or something. What does happen, let's say you rob something or you steal something.
Right.
When it's at that level.
A crime.
Right. Then they'll ship everybody home. They'll send you back to America, the whole family, and it will go in your dad's file.
Yeah.
That's the type. That was one of the good things about the military.
Do you as a military kid, did you have that same immunity that, say, an ambassador's kid would have, that it couldn't be prosecuted in German courts?
I don't know. I never got into that kind of bad trouble with the German.
You're right. You don't want to. But we do know that if you're embassy staff,
right,
that you're immune from punishment.
Well, somewhat immune. Yeah. They will protect you, and they'll make a deal with them that will. Yeah. Oh, I do have some other stories, not affecting me, but people who did have that situation. So, yeah. But anyways, I don't know how I got into it. Well, I got into it. So it's like my dad told me, you can't always not start a fight or what appears to start a fight.
Yeah.
If you know that there's somebody waiting to get you to a certain point, and you know that there's no way around this fight, then you attack first.
Yeah.
And make sure that once you attack, you don't stop until you're finished. And I never forgot. And in fact, I told the principal, I said, I'm sorry, but my dad told me if I'm attacked or if there's a threat, to start it and finish it. Well, don't wait around for the other person to do it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it served me well throughout. And here's what's funny. I saw the kid again. I didn't see him for like 2 months. This was after school was out, and he's walking down the street with some GI buddies, and it's me, and we're on other sides of the street, and I'm thinking, oh, here we go. What's going to happen? But he waved, hey Eddie, how you doing? It was the weirdest thing. It's like, sometimes when you get in a fight with people, I've had it a couple times. My best friend in life was a German kid, and Reinhardt, and still the best friend I ever had in my life. And I think I told the story. We met on the street, and he said, "Oh, you're black."
Thanks for telling me.
This little gang of 5-year-olds. We're all 5-year-olds, and in this little German village, they didn't see any black kids in that time.
Right.
I was it.
Yeah.
And so I took it badly.
Okay.
And I said, "Well, and so we ended up fighting. And then his mother brought him to my house to apologize. I was scared to death that I was going to get trouble, but it's fine. And from that moment on, he is the best friend I've ever had in my life.
Nice.
We've spent every free moment together, him and I, all kinds of. And in fact, I went back over and saw him about 15 years ago, him and his wife. And his wife had never met me. She said, I couldn't wait to meet you because all he ever talked about was his friend Eddie. He's never had a friend like him. So anyway.
I want to ask you this, because I heard Dr. Phil on one of his programs years ago telling this guy, you never hit a woman. She's beating the sun. No, you never hit a woman. Well, I'm going to tell you, what would a cop do if the cop was being victimized? Because whatever they would do is what everybody should do if they're being victimized.
As Ronald you said, there you go again. When I was in the 8th grade, a few years earlier, there was this big girl, and she was a bully.
Yeah.
She was basically a bully. And so one day, a bunch of us were out. This girl said something. I said something. I said, you shut up. Don't you say that again. I said, I'll say it if I want to.
It's Eddie.
Yeah, I'm still doing that.
Yeah.
So anyway, she next, I don't know where she got. She has a stick, and she hits me in my leg. I said, "Stop! Do not hit me." She hits me in my arm. I said, "If you hit me again, I'm gonna hit you back." Also, this time she hits me in my face and scratches. I'm always getting hit in the face for some reason, and I just turn around and hit this girl in the mouth, and I hit her so bad that her teeth went through her lip. Ooh. All of a sudden she starts screaming, and she's screaming mad, and then she runs away,
Yeah.
And so then I'm scared the rest of, I'm really in trouble now. But it turned out I never had problems with her again, and we actually became friends again. We became friends because I earned her respect.
There you
taught
go.
her she can't do that.
Right. Nobody stood up to her.
Right.
And finally somebody did, and maybe she'll behave,
Yeah.
But back to Iran, I don't know. I don't see an easy way out, because really we didn't really hit their civilian infrastructure at all.
No, and I appreciate that. But somehow, see, our greatest enemy is the enemy within. It's that left-wing press that one is, you can't win, because on the one hand, Iran is having its way with us, and if we do something, America has killed women and children, and you can't win like that. It's like that fight with the girl.
Yeah.
Or me, it seemed like it was unfair for me to hit him while he was half.
Yeah.
But see, I learned, that's why I told you the story in Philadelphia. There is no fair fight.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in it to win it, by whatever means necessary, and that will actually end up having a better outcome than letting the bully continue to bully. And so unless we go into Iran and say, this is not the Democrats' army right now. This is the army that is going for world peace and to get rid of a threat that you are.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. And with the intelligence, with the Israeli intelligence, our intelligence, we should know how to take out every and not stop. We shouldn't have stopped. We should have kept killing their leaders until there are no more leaders.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. We're trying to use moderation. Moderation will end up being our own demise.
The problem is, I don't think we understand their culture, their government style and things. I think they were more united than we give them credit for.
Yeah, they don't care.
No,
they'll keep going until you totally annihilate.
If what Tucker's saying is true, and I mean, he had this guest on us reading from the Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, that Trump signed. It only says the Straits of Hormuz is open for the next 60 days. And then it says that a committee will determine future policy. But guess who's on the committee? Iran and Oman. Now, you have to look really closely at the Straits of Hormuz, because what we call United Arab Emirates is that point that sticks up, right? But if you go right to the top of that point, that's not UAE, that's Oman. They own that point. That makes them, Oman and Persia, the two countries on either side of this. And they're claiming that they have the moral right to decide that straits right away that normally would be considered largely territorial waters, largely, not all of it.
My question is, how far, are we using 3 miles?
Typically 7 miles.
7 miles. And how wide is it? It's like 70 miles or 50 miles or something.
It's like 20 some miles navigable.
Right.
At best.
Okay. So okay.
Yeah, it should still be international waters, much of it. Okay. What was happening when Iran was, charging this extortion to escort these ships out, they took them into within 3 miles and followed along. So they'd say, we have a right to charge them for coming into our waters.
Right.
Okay. But my point is that I think this could really turn out bad for world economy, but also it's actually good for the U.S. economy because we never sold more oil than we're doing now.
Right. No, that's true.
Yeah.
But somehow that's not good enough. That for the long run, for the long term.
Well,
we have got to take care of this. We cannot allow these people to do.
There are things happening here. They just put the Aramco pipeline down to the south side of Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia wants to no longer rely on that Arabian Gulf. UAE is running a pipeline right across that point so that ships don't go past that Hormuz section. Right. So that helps them. And let's see.
We need to get Venezuelan oil going better than it is now.
I don't know
what I understand. They're the second largest owner of oil.
Clearly, well, market forces should do that on its own. Mm-hmm. Okay. The problem is Venezuelan oil is not the purest.
It's right.
Another thing's happening. Niger, and Algeria are moving fast on a natural gas pipeline that's going to supply Europe, go right through the bottom, the floor of the Mediterranean, and they're going to service Europe with natural gas coming out of Nigeria.
Good.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So that's going to hurt Russia for sure on that one. So you see a lot of dynamics happening, and right now it's a real challenge for the economic forecasting models because there's so many moving parts. And some of our commerce, some are war related.
If Russia were smart, what Russia would do is tell the Iranians, stop this. Just get your oil flowing again. America's willing to let you have your oil, and then we can buy it from you. We'll reestablish your society. But the radical Islamic mind can't think of it. They don't think in terms of our nation as a whole. It's our religion. It would be it'd be like the Baptists all of a sudden taking over the country and forcing everybody, and we don't care what you do to the nation as long as we keep the people in check, doing our best.
Yeah, to them it's their religion that's important.
That's the real thing. And we've got to show them, sorry, but we're not going to bow to that.
I just think they should be removed from every international treaty agency, everything, because the Iranians' word means nothing.
Nothing.
Exactly. If they mean nothing, there's no reason to negotiate.
But see, here's the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Europe, even the French, the Germans, the Spaniards in particular, right now, all these people are not really our friends.
Mm-hmm.
Deep down, they're hoping that this will hurt America.
Yeah.
See what happened when Angela Merkel, we dealt with this years ago when she was still the prime minister of Germany. They were happy to have, she became the leader of the free world.
Pretty much.
Yeah. At least in name.
Well, because Obama capitulated to the G7.
Exactly.
And that's why.
And he made her the most important. Right. Mm-hmm. And we saw it was just weird. It wasn't right. Okay. Mm-hmm. When we become the leader of the free world, it's different. It's not like we make the world do our bidding or whatever. We set the world free to grow within their own deal. But you've got these leftists, which it's an international deal. It's not just in America. It is a sickness that goes throughout the world. And we're letting these, in fact, I'm not as worried about Russia and China as I am about the social democrats in Europe. Mm-hmm. The greatest enemy to America is the social democrats in Europe and in America.
Yeah.
That's what's going to defeat us, not Russia, not China.
To that end, what's happened this week is, what's his name, Starmer, the prime minister, resigned. But they did it very much like in Canada when, Trudeau resigned. They just set a date for his party to pick a new party leader who hence becomes prime minister. And they slow walk it. Now, Justin Trudeau's out, but Carney's a pretty impressive leader. and he's not a dummy. So they actually went with meritocracy, in my opinion, instead of the golden boy, Fidel's boy.
Well, yeah, yeah, I think he might have done that because was it Alberta that wanted to Calgary or Alberta, one of them that wanted.
They want to secede.
They want to become part of the United States.
That's a separate negotiation. First, they have to decide whether to secede.
But it's kind of weird. How do you secede when you're still in between British Columbia and then you're here in the rest of the
ask
country?
European countries how that works. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess so.
But anyway, so you got that going on. Evidently, Trump and what's her name, Italy's prime minister. Yeah, evidently they had some kind of tiff, and they're trying to work that out.
Yeah.
That's going on. But back to England, though, this guy that just won his race for Parliament, Burham, I think was it, Andy Burham. They all want him to be the next prime minister, and he wants to flip the Labour Party's position on things like immigration. Well, okay, good. That's a win. It looked like Farage and his Reform Party took a hit, but I listened to what's his name, former Breitbart guy with Steve Bannon. He said, you have to look at this race. The way it was pitched for Burham was an anti-labor race. He says, basically, vote for me, I will take over the Labor Party. And so the people thought, oh, we'll totally take it over rather than leave it, because his district that he ran from was so historically pro-labor. It always was a labor stronghold. And they felt like the globalists were taken away from the workers, and they wanted back to be a workers' party. Mm-hmm. So you got that going on. I think they're just, the dynamics throughout Europe are just phenomenal. Oh, and then we had this big win in Colombia. They threw out the communists.
Yeah, if we can get that whole subcontinent down there in South America, and get them back to more conservative or moderate, at least, leadership, and make it a united continent. Mm-hmm. And eventually, I think Canada will play ball.
Yeah.
But and of course, we got Mexico in the middle, where we've got to do something. Because it's a total mess.
Yeah, but Mexico isn't as big a danger as Brazil. Brazil is very anti for individual freedoms.
Now, yeah, they got rid of Bolsonaro, and
they become thugs.
Can they get it back?
They have become a banana republic.
Well, yeah, until they go so far, and then all of a sudden we realize the people start revolting and take it back.
I think you need international sanctions. Get that to work, trade sanctions, because they need trade.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got that all going on, and meanwhile, China is just not getting involved in any of it. I find out they're having some real economic problems. Housing in China is really getting to be a challenge. There's a couple other things, but China's economy is hurting right now.
You know what really hurt China, which should serve as notice to some of these leftists and these I don't even know what to anti-human people.
Yeah.
What is it? Zero PG.
The one-child policy.
The one-child policy, right?
Yeah.
Because now they're finding themselves. The reality is hit. Mm-hmm. They don't have enough young people.
Well, they have too many old people.
Right, exactly. And that comes back. That's Italy's problem too. That happened to Italy.
All of them.
Europe in general, because in Germany, I mean, they thought, as Pat Campbell used to say, you're just a bunch of breeders.
Yeah,
you have more than two children.
The retirement time bomb was hitting all the first world, second world countries, and it's hitting the United States. Some people will say COVID was launched just to get rid of old people.
Yeah, I'm one of them. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah. And see, this is the problem. When you take out the incentive for privatization, you take care of yourself and you leave for your posterity. Mm-hmm. See, I believe it's parents' job to raise their children, and then the children's job to take care of the parents until they go. That's the way it should be. You pass it down, and then you pass it down, but you take care of those that passed it down to
That's
you.
the biblical institution of the family.
That's what it should
Honor
be.
your father and mother.
Honor your father and
Yeah.
mother.
In fact, Jesus ridiculed the Levites, the priests, and saying, you tell everybody else honor your father and mother, but you're saying because you're a priest, you are exempt from having to take care of your parents in their old age.
Yeah, but that's the key, and when you can't get that, and then you add in there the whole social programs that they can't even take care of themselves anymore because the government becomes mom and dad. You're giving yourself. I don't understand how did our mind, the collective mind, let's say, get to the point where we believe the things we believe or teach the things we teach at school. I mean, the things, it's common sense that you have a family unit, then you have a neighborhood unit, a town unit, a state unit, whatever. And if everybody's doing their job, but now it's the mind up here, central thinking, and then everybody falls in line, and they're going to that's mom and dad. Government becomes mom and dad.
Yep.
They take care of you, and then all you have to do, and it's laziness. All I have to do is wait till I get sick. We've talked about this before.
It's what the Great Society did to the urban black community.
Right, exactly, but it's spread out now.
Yeah.
And I think I might have talked about this before. The white man's welfare.
Yeah.
It's called disability.
Yep.
And everybody, the clients come in here, I'm disabled now, so I'm getting my check from the government, and I don't have to work. I mean, actually almost proud of it. But I wouldn't be like them N-words over there taking their welfare. But disability, it's no different. It's the same thing. You're getting paid to not work and do whatever you want to do. You just call it by another name because it feels better.
Well, yeah, you accept. You have a different view when it's somebody who got injured fighting in the war.
Well, yeah, that's not the disability that we have now. That's veterans. That's a veterans right.
Yeah, I'm just making that distinction there.
Oh yeah, of course. No, there's always people that are deserving, but see, again, if we left it to the families, if the family, I don't know what has happened to people. I remember when my dad was passing away. Okay, all of our kids were there. We were there, and around him, and the hospice person told us, "Oh, I can't believe how much you love this man. How you take it?" And we're looking at each other. What do you mean you can't believe it? This is what everybody should be doing. And he said, "Oh no. Usually when I go into a house, the person's dying in the bedroom." And they're in the living room arguing about who gets what, already divvying up the. And we're sitting there looking at it. We cannot imagine it. And I can't imagine my kids today wanting to do my wife or myself that way. I don't know what it is. There's a certain ingrained, innate thing that's been put into us that we take care of our own. The parents are to take care of the kids until the kids are able to take care of themselves. Then when the parents get to a place where they can't take care of themselves, the kids are supposed to take care of the parents. If we did that, you wouldn't need social security. You wouldn't need socialized medicine, all these things, because everybody would be taken care of. I always say it's the family, it's the church, it's the neighborhood, that they're the ones who are supposed to take care of themselves.
Eddie, I have been in a situation where my family needed help. And I go to the church, and the church says, first, get what you can from the government, and then we will deal with whatever.
Isn't that terrible?
Yeah.
Isn't that terrible? It's a reverse. It's as if you say bass backwards.
Yes.
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. For any church, any pastor to tell you to go to the government, and then we'll see what we can do after that. I'm sorry, there's something wrong with you. And now, of course, it means, because I remember in the 70s, I went to this Baptist church there outside of Dallas, and we get people coming through, and churches have this all the time. You get these people come through, well, we're traveling across country, we don't You know, we need gas money,
Yeah.
we need food, and churches used to give them stuff. You know, and then it became like the guys on the corner. You know, they don't. They're just scamming. They're just scammers. You know, and it's until we get to the point where we tell people, sorry, no. And you might get to the point occasionally you hurt an innocent person, but you break that cycle. Yeah. It's got to stop. It's like I could go on for like the abortion.
Well, yeah,
it's like the abortion thing. You know, no, you got to cut it off.
Yeah, no, I agree with Larry Burkett. Said, don't ever give to the guy standing with the sign at the street corner. Yeah. Give to a community outreach ministry that knows how to deal with these people.
John 3:16. If you don't come to them, they're not going to help it. If you don't go to the...
In fact, the director, I was at a Republican Men's Club luncheon. He was the speaker, and he gives us all these cards. He says, stick them in the visor of your car. When you see one, give them this card. It's for a free meal and a ride wherever they would need to go.
Yeah, and probably a place to stay if they're in that
He says, we will take them in, feed them a meal, let them have a shower if they want, and phone call whoever they need to call.
Right.
And we'll drop them off anywhere and tell them they need to be.
Yeah.
You know, but he gives them that interaction, and it's kind of that carrot on the stick. But this is, Steve, Eddie, the way so many people I know who've had serious mental illness, psychosis, and that, the way their families first found out has been through these rescue missions. Saying, hey, this fella, he's babbling on. I think he's schizophrenic. He's in a episode, but he did tell us that you're his sister. And in families, like, great. Can you kind of keep him there till I can get there 4 hours? And because they're delusional, and they just need to hear, you know, Eddie, come home. You know, Eddie, come on back.
Yeah,
we can take care of you.
I take it a step prior to that is, how do you as a family person not realize that your family member, your son, your daughter, your brother, your sister are in need? And you know, there's something out.
Many times they do, but a lot of times it first manifests itself as just bad behavior.
Right, but to get to the state where you got people calling you to tell you you need to come get this person, because that should never happen.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't happen.
Listen, most people are schizophrenic. Generally, if you could say one thing, they want to be left alone. These are the people who just disappear.
Well, and that's right there. That's a sign. If my kids fought like cats and dogs growing up, okay, I was worried about them. My daughter pulling a knife on her brother and this and stuff.
Be careful, she's in town.
Yeah, but you know, or a pen, you know. I can still picture these two, but now they're so tight.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
No, you're right.
It's, you know, and they're calling each other once a week, talking to each other, different ones. And, and if they don't hear from one, they make sure there's not something wrong.
You're right.
So that's what we've lost. We've abdicated the role of family and given it over to the government. And honestly, here's my question, Dave. Is it too late? Can we get it back?
Well,
I don't think so. I don't think we can get
our
it back.
job is to first fix our family.
Right. Exactly. And then hope that spreads to others. But we're so far gone, and we've created these groups, you know, needy people groups that are needy.
Eddie,
whether Black, Hispanic,
Eddie, let's talk urban culture here. When Ma kicked Dad out and got the government check to replace him, the kids grew up without a dad. You don't learn how to be a man from your mother. You need a father figure. If you don't have that, the gang steps in, and you become a gang member.
But that is the result. What happened?
Yeah.
Now, what's crazy about that within that, because I've got friends that I grew up with where that happened.
Yeah.
But the dad at least still had a relationship with the kids.
Right.
And he would come see them, where they would get seen. They still cared for their dad, and vice versa. They took this on them as kind of a survival mechanism, if but the majority, like you said, and not just that, that was the first generation. The next generation, oh well, this is how I grew up. Don't need a man. Women say, I don't need a man. I can get Uncle Sam becomes my man.
Right.
And he's taking care of these. And every time I have a new kid, I get more money and I get this.
Well, if you grow up in a culture of divorce, you just think you're going to get a divorce.
Right, exactly. So, but there are ways around it. I would just say to believers, to Christians, this is not the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
The family is still the way it's supposed to be. I think we talked June 4th this month, a couple of weeks ago. My wife and I, we celebrated our 50th anniversary.
Awesome.
We've been married 50 years. I can't even believe it. It's like 50 days or 50 minutes. But and as Danny DeVito once says, and there were even a few good ones in there.
Yeah.
On my page, I said, 50 years of marriage, and there were a couple of good ones in there. But we've endured through stuff, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, you do.
And there were times where she could have, should have left me. There were times when I could have, should have left her. But I think what happens, what runs through every mind, if you're really thinking right, that am I going to find anything or anyone better out there?
Okay.
I mean, realistically.
Good point. I've thought about this driving in today.
Oh, okay.
Because today would have been my parents' 74th anniversary.
Wow.
Today.
74.
And I remember when I was 15, my parents were going through a few tough years then. I mean, it got pretty ugly. It was looking like separation, at least. And they stuck it out. And I've since then found out so much more that I'm amazed they stuck it out through. But I knew it was coming, and I went and I bought them an anniversary card and a little gift. And I gave it to my mom. Now, keep in mind, I'm one of 9 kids, right? The only one who ever gave them an anniversary gift. And my mom said, it's not customary for kids to give a gift to their parents for the anniversary. And today I'm thinking, why the heck wouldn't they?
Yeah, right.
Do you know what it's like to grow up in a broken home? If kids realize how fortunate they were that their mom and dad still live together, they would get them a gift. They would cheer them on, I mean, I even moderated some of my parents' disputes when I was older than that, because it was in my best interest that they stick it out.
Yeah, I remember I was in my 20s. I wasn't married yet, so I had been in my earlier 20s, and went to Philadelphia, and we were talking about my mom and my uncle's wife.
Mm-hmm.
My dad had a brother.
Yeah.
And we were talking, he said, Celeste and your mom, they can be a problem, but, and he said something, he said, when I went through things and there were times when she should have left me, she didn't leave me.
Right.
So why would I do that to her now? Because she had some mental issues. He said, but why would I do that after she stuck with me through this and that?
Your dad?
No, my uncle. This was my uncle.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was like my dad, because my mom could go off. You might think sometimes she wasn't right in her mind.
Right.
But because she had this anger issue that was.
Well, if I find out my old man just blew away his whole paycheck gambling, that would be a tough one to swallow.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, but he said, and he told me that. He said, I can't do that to her after those years.
Yeah.
Where I was a knucklehead and she should have left me. So I've always kept that. In mind. And the biggest thing is, am I going to find something? In fact, it came up this morning. We were going around the room on how much money everybody spent for their wedding. Mm-hmm. And I think the high one, and this was a wedding in the 70s. No, maybe it was the 80s, this other wedding, but it was like $70,000. Now imagine $70,000 in the 70s. Everybody said, what? But in the end, I told them, my wedding cost $50.
Mm-hmm.
$50. My wife's father disowned her, for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
The mother had no money.
Yeah.
So basically, we took it, and so between us and our friends, we were able, and we had like over 300 people at our wedding, and 5 separate groups of musicians, and I mean it's like, you remember Jesus Revolution? Well, we were an offshoot of Calvary Chapel,
right?
And it was a Friday night meeting that they had anyway. And so we just said, because we both got saved in that meeting, so we said, can we just tack it on the end? And so they said, we're done. If you want to stick around, we're having a wedding.
Yeah.
And everybody, what, a wedding? You know, and so I'd say 95% of the people stayed. Well, yeah, we got to see this, you know. In fact, years later, I had people, you don't know me, but I was at your wedding.
Nice.
Yeah, they still remember. But anyway, you know, everything was donated. The musicians were free. One of my wife's high school friends, her sister worked in a nursery or a flower shop, and every day they have to throw the flowers away that are wilting.
Right.
So she brought, and the entire
front
of the altar was covered with flowers that free. My one of my wife's German friends made my wife's dress, and then, you know, I don't know if it was my mom, somebody baked a cake.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a 5-layer cake.
Yeah, we had basically that same thing.
Yeah.
We just spent a few hundred in the 80s on ours.
Yeah, I paid the guy that took the photos. I said,
Yeah.
he got 25, and I gave my pastor 25.
So get this.
And that was it. But I just want to complete it by saying we spent $50, and 50 years we're still together.
Yeah.
So it's not these, I just can't understand these big wedding deals. But go ahead.
Well, the pastor who married Debbie and me, this was his first church. He just got out of Bible school. He's already married, actually has a couple of kids. And he'd never performed a wedding. And his short time at this Assembly of God church, and I was not with that denomination. I was a minister 100 miles away with another denomination. But I'm from their hometown. And so is my wife. And it was all like, where do we have our wedding ceremony? We had like 8 months to figure this out. And we said, you know what? This Assembly of God preacher, that would be the best one. Even though neither of us go to his church or anything, but he knows us well, you know, and small town. Anyway, he had 3 or 4 instances where people come want to get married. And there was either question about, you know, living together, or are they even Christian, and past marriages, how many divorces. And he just said, if they're not both members of this church, I'm not doing it. So I go to him on a Saturday and I tell him, and he says, well, here's our rules. I said, I know, I understand that, but we still want you to, you know, like this. And he's kind of like, how do I say? I said, hey, you don't have to answer it. I'll give you 5 minutes. You know? And he's, you know, just joking. I'm this confident. And he says, well, all right, I'll do it. He says, I don't know how I'm going to explain it now. And he tells us all these things. And then he says, we got to meet. We got to do. He says, when you come on up on Saturdays, because, you know, I'm teaching school all week. I come up to see you. But then I got to be back for Sunday morning service. And the next week, he says, I told Margie what I did, and we prayed about it. And she says, you know, you've been saying now for years since he got here, why can't God just bring us a young couple who both love Jesus and just, you know, he says, I almost blew it. And now he left that church a couple years later, went on to pastor one of the biggest Assembly of God churches in Minneapolis. Very prominent minister. And we're always his first. And he always said to us, he says, no, whenever you come back, I feel like I'm the pastor to your marriage. Check in with me, you know. But his wife, for that wedding, because we didn't have money for anything, she brought houseplants over from the parsonage to do it. They're just all in on this because it's their first wedding, you know. And we'd go back to see him. And he says, well, how's it doing? Because one of the things he told us, he says, don't go overboard on your wedding. don't spend gobs of money.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
But don't cheat yourself out of a honeymoon. He says, Margie and I got married on a Friday night, and I had to report for work Monday morning, and everything was rushed, and I just don't feel like we had time for each other. It's okay. So he said, well, how you guys doing? And we'd say 3-4 years later, we're still on our honeymoon, Pastor. Yeah, so.
Just lying through your teeth.
Well, I tell you what, life gets a lot more complicated as kids come along and you get older. There's just a lot of issues.
With my other pastor, because we had moved it down, not the one that married us, but the one who would have wanted to. But anyway, when we were counseling, we did our counseling through him, and he said, you guys are in love now, but what are you going to do when you fall out of love?
Yeah.
And he said, how can we fall out? Oh, trust me, you will.
Yeah.
It's all over, that, as you say, the honeymoon period, enamoration. And so, it's a tough deal, but you have to have a will. You have to will yourself.
It is a decision
to stick through it, and it's two ways. I mean, if you really truly love this person, you're going to stick through it and just make sure the other person is the quality of person that will do the same. It gets harder and harder to do that, but
let me tell you what Kenneth Hagin said. I went to his Bible school. He said the problem with most women is they marry a guy thinking they'll change him.
Yeah, that is it.
The problem with most guys is they marry a woman thinking she'll never change. Well, buddy, she hits that middle-aged spread, she's going to spread. And he literally said it like that from the pulpit.
So it gets down to the differences in why men and women marry.
Yeah.
That men are more affected by the looks than a woman. But I've come to a realization that's not even true. It's the quality of the woman and how you connect. Ultimately, it's how you connect spiritually and emotionally.
It is. And Eddie, you will have to agree, as a man gets older, he comes to appreciate that.
Yeah, men are like little boys. They like to be babied and cuddled.
Oh, yeah. I remember my older brother went through a tragic divorce. His wife just up and left him. She had a mental health challenge. And he just said, I ain't getting married again. And I said, oh, come on, you want to get married? And he said, why? And I said, oh, you want somebody to rub your shoulders at night, keep you warm. He says, you want a nurse, don't you?
Yeah, I have this friend who, when we were with YWAM early on, we'd have these summer service programs, and he came over, and then he went back home and met this girl, and they got married and came back over as a couple.
Okay.
With Youth on Mission, worked with us, and when he came back, this girl weighed like 300 pounds.
Okay.
Big girl.
Yeah.
Big girl. He loved that girl like no man I've ever seen love it. And still today loves that girl. And they're still together. They had one son. They were only able to have one kid. But that kid is made up for he's got like 8 or something. But it just shows that and I've learned this over the years, men may appreciate outward beauty, but outward beauty is not what men are really looking for.
Yes.
There's a quality of a woman that can overcome the whole thing. That's why in Hollywood these guys are always getting married for looks until they find somebody that looks better and is attracted more outwardly. And that's not what men. There's that hole we have in us that what's it, Jerry Maguire? You complete me. It's that hole we feel we need to complete. Hey, but listen, we need to wrap up. I got to get out of here.
You betcha.
We've exhausted this.
All right. My apologies, Talitha, and I hope you have a great visit with your daughter while she's in town.
Yep.
And good. The 4th is next weekend. I'm available. I don't know. Are we doing the show?
The 4th. That's not.
Okay, we're going to take a break.
We're going to celebrate and ask you to shoot off as many fireworks as you can. And,
go buy a flag.
Houses down.
Hang a flag out your front door. Doggone it. If yours tattered like mine is, I'm going to change mine today. Put a new one up. All right.
All right, everybody. God bless. Have a good weekend.